We are live. Welcome back, everyone, for another exciting live. We are still waiting on our mystery guest. He may or may not show up. Not really sure. But me and Ray are going to start this thing anyway. So for those of you who don't know who Ray is, I'm going to give him a quick second here to kind of introduce himself. But I first met Ray basically on Pokenomics stream. It was him and Ray having a live stream, and I was in the chat, some other guys were in the chat, and Ray was actually the one that said, "Hey, bring Nostalgianomics on. Hey, bring Retrospecs on. Let's kind of hash out these issues. Let's have a good conversation." And that whole live stream, I really liked hearing Ray's thoughts on a lot of different things. He had a lot of things, he agreed on with me, other things he saw differently, which is why I thought it'd be great to bring him on the channel, because he's going to give you guys a perspective that I'm not always going to have. And also he's going to have an expertise that I'm not going to have in certain areas. So Ray, you have the floor, man.
Well, first of all, Alex, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Just want to take a second, as I said before stream, we'll shout out Dan. Hope you're feeling better soon, buddy. Don't want to say too much, but just hope you're feeling better. We'll just leave it at that, right? As far as me, I've been collecting now for about 4 years. I will say I've really gotten a little bit more gung-ho into it in the last year or so. I've gotten a lot better, but my likes, dislikes, I don't like the vintage versus modern talk. I like everything. I collect a little bit of everything, and I have a golden retriever that's behind me right now. But I don't really, I wouldn't really consider myself an expert really in anything, because I just collect what I like. It's really, but mostly sticking to Japanese, I would say.
Well, I mean, being back in the dog's having a good time.
Yeah, I might have to stop him a second. Sorry about that.
No, I told you we can just set up a mic for him. We got room. No, but he's good, man. Who we got in here? We got Samurai 7, Ponga R. We got E Unit, Hawks, the Green Shiz. What's up, man? Brad G Cards, John, Evo Me. Who else we got? Ramrod TV. Hey, I also want to give a shout out to everyone who did join the channel memberships. If anyone wants to support the channel, just another way. There's just regular memberships. Basically, get some emotes to use. You get some little cool characters next to your name the longer you remember. But the higher up membership, the $4.99, that's basically for anyone who does want to take part in the pack breaks. I know I'm not going to mention it anymore. Just one time, I promise. But pack breaks, I'm going to have a Unified Minds, Unbroken Bonds, and a Paldea Evolve booster box.
Alex,
broken. Yes.
Who's giving you crap about pack breaks? What's going on? What's this
I don't
all
know.
about? I heard you apologizing. I heard you apologizing to the channel about 1 million times when you were talking to Josh. What's going on, everybody? What's what they hate?
I don't know. I really don't. I didn't know. Honestly, it's making me rethink doing any more because of how much hate I'm getting for it. But we're going forward no matter what.
Aren't packs meant to be opened? Come on, guys. Especially if it's at a reasonable price. I'm sure you're not, doing 30% over market, right?
No, actually, I priced them, at what market price kind of was, with a little extra, obviously, for the whole break and everything. But now that the boxes have continued to rise, they're basically almost what you buy them at market. So it's not really much of an upcharge anymore because of they keep rising. But yeah, Unified Minds, Unbroken Bonds, Paldea Evolved. You go to nostalgianomics.com. It's right on the front page. The link's in the description. If you did want to buy like more than 2 packs, that's what that higher up membership's for. It basically gives you 10% off everything. And that way, you actually save some money. So it's just one of those ways. But other than that, hey, Mr. Waller's in the chat. Mr. Waller's, how is
why are you in the chat? What's going on?
Hey, man, if you still want to hop on this live, you were invited. You can definitely get on still if you want to, man. And I see some people asking about Dan. Dan had some medical stuff come up, and basically Ray's still in the hospital, or?
Yeah, that's from what I understand. I don't want to give too much details, but yeah, just wanted to make sure we at least shout him out, let him know we're thinking of him.
Yeah, so thoughts and prayers with Dan for sure right now.
By the way, he's okay. Just
he's good.
Everybody. But yeah, just want to make sure we say that.
No, with all that being said, though, let's just jump right into it. So,
what do we want to jump into?
As far as how crazy the Japanese market is, we were talking a little bit about it beforehand. I am in no way, shape, or form a Japanese expert. I have not even got into the Japanese modern. At this point, it's so hot. I feel like if I jump in and I get it wrong because I don't know what I'm doing yet, I could get burned hard. So, Ray, you said you've been back in the hobby about 4 years. Did you jump right back into Japanese? Is this something you kind of built? Is this something you got in recently? And how have you kind of been navigating that market through all this craziness?
So I think I would have started probably like most people. I mean, the set that kind of got me back into it was Shining Legends. I was in Walmart, I saw them clearanced out, and I love Shining Legends as a set and was cracking that probably way too much. But eventually over time, you crack these packs, especially if you want to think about them on a grading level, and you start opening them up and you get these packs that just look like Wolverine, opened them up because the quality of English is just so poor and it just feels really, really bad. So I would say shout out to my friend Lazy Brad, who doesn't really ever watch too many of these lives, but he's the one who finally like, just start opening Japanese. He's kind of really the one to turn me on to it. And then you start opening up Japanese packs and you realize like every one of these cards, not only do they look better, the texture's cleaner, everything just about the cards look better, but like there's a really good chance coming out of the pack, like really high chance that it's going to be a 10. Not every time, but it makes you feel like what you're actually purchasing or investing into is actually worth it when you're cracking a pack and not getting crap quality. I mean, Evolutions was awful for it. I know I say Evolutions because I know you really like it. You always I know it was one of your favorite sets, but like, dude, you remember opening it up? Like, remember opening up because I had it happen. Remember cracking that Charizard and it was just completely off center and awful. Like
You
it
mean
just
the
feels
hollow, right?
terrible. But well, whether it was the reverse or the regular hollow, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the full arts were they were real easy 10s, but yeah, the regulars were terrible.
Are you sure they're really easy 10s? Because you turn them around and they're either really off center or they had the whitening really bad. Looked like that they got chewed
On
on.
the full arts?
Oh yeah, I would
Huh.
say all of Evolutions was like that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to an extent, but definitely worse with the hollows. The hollows, they were. I think that's why. I mean, I don't even know if it's still. I don't pay attention to the market that closely on the lower end cards, but I think even a lot of the regular hollows, like Nidoking, Chansey, like they started going for huge dollar amounts in PSA 10 because it was just that hard to grade on.
Yep. I mean that Charizard, the pre-release promo with the evolution stamp is just it's craziness. And I don't even know what the value of it is now. I just remember at least last time I saw it because I'm not actively looking up evolutions. I'm not. I I cracked enough of it as a kid. I never cared about evolutions, but I do know that that card is pretty wild in a 10 in terms of price. But that's it. I mean, it comes to like the value and quality of what you want to open up. Do I want to open up what I perceive as an inferior product when I'm opening up English, or do I want to have kind of the the product the way it's meant to be experienced and opening up Japanese? That's really it, because it's that much different. I mean, when's the last time you held a Japanese card in your hand?
Oh, I mean, I can go pull one out if I want. I mean, I
Okay,
have
all
some.
right. So
Yeah,
it's not like you're not completely oblivious to it. You just prefer the English.
yeah. I mean, I don't know what about it. I get the Japanese is better quality. It just feels like a better quality cardboard. It's always in better shape. I don't know. It just something about not being able to read Japanese.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
On the English cards, are you actually reading what the attacks are and
Look, Ray,
the
I may not be the smartest tool in the shed, but I can read. I can read.
No, that's not the question. I said, are you actually reading it though? Or are you looking at the art like everybody else is?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's really the origin of it. I mean, I started to open it and I was like, oh my God, I'm wasting my money, opening up this English product because 85% of the time when it comes out, it's not going to be in good quality or it's going to be off center or something. So that's when I really just started um, pretty much just diving more into, you know, Japanese market. Plus the cost. At that time when I started, I mean, I can go get Dream League boxes for $60, and my favorite set was Cosmic Eclipse. Like, why do I just open up the Dream League and spend, what would probably have been half the price?
So basically, what I'm hearing from you is when you got back in, you were just really wanting to kind of collect open cards. How,
Oh, I
what?
was opening like a moron
So
all the time.
how things evolved over these last few years? What turned it from just enjoying the hobby, being a collector, opening packs, to now taking a little more serious? Being able to grade, flip, know how to I guess, sift through and source cards out of the market, all that good stuff.
Well, one good lesson learned is from Catch 'em All Collectibles himself when he was selling heavy base packs, and and I bought one of those and hit a Polyrath. That's usually a pretty good indicator of you should probably stop opening things, right?
That's rough.
Rough. And now it's kind of like a running joke here, but like no, but that's really it. Is you kind of learn as you're going through this how to optimize, man. You have to. I mean, you talk about that all the time, is like kind of optimizing, what you're doing. And if you're just going to continue to open, you're going to just run yourself into the ground. You're not going to do anything unless you're really, really stupid lucky.
Yeah, or if there's like an inconsistency in the market. I mean, I like when I was opening all those Evolutions boxes, because the Charizard cards were so like over. I mean, I would consider them overvalued at the time. I mean, there were a lot of times where I could open an Evolutions box. I could pull like a Charizard Hollow or Reverse Hollow, like a Mega Charizard or a Mega Blastoise, and then like a full art Charizard. And it's like the box was literally paying for it. Like I could flip them near mint on the market, pay for the entire box, and then just buy another one and open it and continue to have the fun. Now, obviously, you didn't get lucky in every box, but for a while there, Evolutions boxes were so cheap. And for some reason, some crazy reason, the cards were still not crazy cheap. And there was like, and it's happened a few times with sets in the past where like you could open them. I mean, back in the day, like before the boom, Jungle First, Fossil First, some of those WotC era boxes. If you open the box, sold the light packs, open and graded the hollows, you really didn't need that many 10s to break even. I mean, if you got anywhere near good pulls in a 10, you basically were making profit. So there are times in the hobby where you can kind of find those inconsistencies, but no, 90% of the time you can't.
What you're saying is you're weighing packs, you evil flipper scum. I knew it.
Absolutely.
What am I doing on this channel?
I gotta protect
You
myself.
better be disclosing that.
I did always sell them as light. I would sell them as a 3 artwork light pack, but it didn't matter because people they wanted the sealed, box fresh art. Because what I'd do, I'd make a picture showing it was from a brand new booster box. The packs were in mint condition. So even though they were light, they still sold pretty well just because someone wanted the full artwork set from a non-circulated pack. And then, yeah, just crack the packs, grade the hollows, sell the commons and uncommons, try to lot them up in like set, like the uncommon common sets, or just, keep the rest of the bulk. But no, I mean, I never, and I guess it's because obviously Pokemon continue to appreciate, but I never came out under on any of the box openings I did on any of those WotC boxes. And it was basically because I did the math beforehand. I didn't just kind of go into it with no plan. I mean, I calculated it all out and made sure like, okay, I'm basically guaranteed to get my money back as long as I get a few 10s and then get some good pulls and 9s, we'll be all right type thing.
See, that's the difference between you and I. You do the whole like I'm gonna plan and probably spreadsheet it all out. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever made a spreadsheet before in my life.
I definitely take the fun out of Pokemon,
document my plays. There's no way.
Well, that's why I wanted this mystery guest. I guess he's not coming, but that's why it's just because I think guys like me and you, we can take the fun out of Pokemon because of, having to worry about the finance behind it, having to worry about the, not losing all your money, or with you having to make a profit off your flips and off your grading to where you don't have endless amounts of money to throw at the hobby as a collector, because we're all collectors at heart. I mean, all of us here, I'm sure, are collectors. But I was having a conversation with someone earlier today about, you kind of come in the hobby, you start off on the Pokerevs and the Leonharts and, the Real Breaking Nates, those channels. But the longer you stay and the more money you put in the hobby, like you kind of trickle down to channels like us, to where you want to go deeper and you want to learn more about like, the pop reports and learn more about like the price appreciation over time and how the market works, because, you can only open packs and have fun for so long and spend enough money to where you start thinking, well, wait a second, how do I start getting some of this money back?
You have to. I mean, you'll die if you don't. But you just also reminded me of one of the other first times that I was like introduced to Japanese, and it's funny because it was actually Cam with ZNG. He was randomly in, I think, Discord, just ripping a box of CP6. You know what CP6 is?
Yeah. Evolution.
Okay. Yep. He was, but like, I really like CP6 because of the secrets that are inside of that compared to Evolutions. I just think it's a much, much better set. They actually have the full art Charizard, the Blastoise, and I think the Venusaur that's in it. Where for some reason they omitted it in Evolutions. They always seem to do that. They always seem to kind of, I don't know, just make the English releases worse for whatever reason. It's because they take like the secrets and they make collection boxes out of them. They pull them out of the set
Yeah.
and they diversify the product into about 10 different products on a store
Did
shelf.
they didn't do that with Celebrations, did they?
It was actually the opposite. I would say in celebrations, the English product was the first time where it was actually better than the Japanese product. That's that's the first time I've ever seen that since I've been collecting, and it's because on the English side they released all of the what do they call them, like the retro cards? I forget the name that they call them off the top of my head, in the actual set itself. Whereas in Japanese, although those cards look better, they came in promo packs,
Okay.
and the promo packs were searchable. Yeah, so you had all the hits of a box that you get in the celebrations, but just in separate searchable packs. And basically, by the time you got them over here, classic collection. The classic collection is what it's called. You can get those in the promo packs in the Japanese version, and they have like, I think there's one hit in Japanese celebrations, and it's the gold Mew, and it's totally meh. And the rest of them you can just get them in packs that are searchable. So you would never get the Charizard because people are searching the packs before they come to the U.S. for the most part.
Gotcha.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Although I would say that that's the best Charizard in terms of that art that's ever been released, is the Japanese 25th with the gold border. I just love that card.
So what would the equivalent be in the US, like the gold, the metal one from the UPC?
No,
No.
because that was metal. No, this was just a gold bordered with it still has that same hollow pattern with like the specs, but it's gold bordered rather than having the 25th Pikachu logo has like a little square. It just looks much better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so all right, so you get past so you're into Japanese, you love collecting, you're opening. Where's the transition happen to what you're doing now with more of the what are you doing now? Are you just sourcing, grading, flipping, and then kind of using those profits to either buy sealed or further your own collection? Or are you just like having fun opening and then grading the stuff you open? What's the majority of what you're doing in the hobby right now?
So it's pretty rare that I'm actually opening stuff anymore. If I do, what I'll usually allot let me take a step back. What I usually will allot myself to is when you can go on Pokemon Center online, the Japanese Pokemon Center, and you do the the contest to see if you actually win a box, because that's what they have to do now. You have to submit and hopefully win a box from them. I'll open that one up. If I win a box from them, and then I'm just paying like the $50 for a box, and I'm happy to pay basically MSRP, right? And that appeases me I can get an idea what the set identity is. After that point, I'm waiting a certain amount of time, and if I like the set, I'll buy into that set. And in the meantime, I'm buying and selling singles to help pay for those.
When you say buying and selling singles, are you grading these singles?
Whether I'm grading them or selling them raw, because I don't know, if I see a card that I like, I might buy 30 at a time.
And
10 of them may be gradable.
And so where's the majority of your sourcing happening? eBay?
eBay, Buy, whether it's through Reddit, Discord, things like that, just almost anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would you say majorities like Buy, eBay?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, because a lot of the times, it isn't really much of a secret, because a lot of people think they might be missing out because they're not on Buy, but eBay can give you just as good as prices at times, and even better and faster service. eBay is probably the way to go. I mean, that's where I just bought all my Unagaba packs from, the EV packs.
Yeah.
Bought them through eBay.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the ones that I bought off Buy that I did save money on, save like, $2-3 a pack on, all got canceled on me because the Japanese market saw that they were going up, so they canceled it and they really relisted it. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible. That sucks how that stuff still happens.
I mean, it happens. It can happen on eBay too. It can happen anywhere, but you just really, in terms of Buy, you really have less of, of any kind of security that can really help you. You got money back guarantees and stuff with eBay that will protect you. There's no protections with Buy, man. So,
gosh, do you remember? I mean, if you were buying back during like when everything was booming, I just remember like putting orders in and then getting on like a few days later and seeing the price jumps. I'm just like, I really hope they're cool and they send that. I really hope they don't cancel this. Like, there were so many things I bought, and literally by the time it got to my door, it was up like 25%. And I'm just like, okay, this isn't actually possible, but I'm enjoying the ride. But it felt like everything I ordered at that time, I'm just like, I really hope they don't cancel this.
Yeah, and that's actually where I have a problem too. Like the Unagaba EV packs. Are you familiar with them? How at all?
I am. Those are real plain, like white.
What do you, excuse me, sir? What do you mean by real plain? Chat, what do you think of this guy right now? Real plain?
I get the gist.
It's amazing. Are you kidding me? You need to take a look at them.
Well, I honestly,
I'm offended.
That's like the first thing in a while. I really don't understand the hype. What's the hype of it?
So I forget his name, like his full actual name, but Unagaba, I'll just say the cross promotion with Pokemon. He's just a really famous like artist, designer in Japan, and he's already crossed with a Pikachu last year, and he just happened to do this year, the 9 evolutions for Eevee.
So man, I knew that, but like, so that's it. That artist has that big of a following. Because I mean, let's be honest. Come on, you can be honest. The cars aren't that crazy.
I mean, I said this on Pokeflips, but no joke. When I had the Pikachu, when I was at Collecticon, the Unagaba Pikachu is probably the #1 card that always gets pointed out in the case, no matter what. I mean, I've had $1,500 Gengars and Charizards in my case, but people point out the $80 PSA 10 Unagaba because the art looks cool.
Interesting. Hey,
yep.
To each their own, right? I get made fun of for like an XY, so I get it.
Hey, I like the XY full arts. They're awesome.
Yeah.
Especially in Japanese.
So grading services though.
It's PSA. I mean, it's not
PSA,
really
all the way. So you don't try to like chase those like black labels or CGC 10s. Like, it's not worth it. Just go PSA.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not at a level to where I could take that risk. And I think with BGS, it's probably less risky, because even if you get a BGS 10, just a gold label 10, you're probably doing just as well as a PSA 10. It's fine.
Well, usually it's better, isn't it? No?
From what I've seen, it might be. I mean, even if it's a little bit over, but they're tougher to grade. So you better be sending your best cards, because if you get a 9.5, then you're not getting the same as a PSA 10, right? So it's that risk. I just rather have the conservative PSA good play on my side. Maybe not the best play for I have black labeled a card before. I mean, I've sent 4 cards to BGS, not including some of the poker cards. That didn't really count though. I won't count that one. But the first 4 I sent was the Darkness Ablaze Charizard VMAX. I sent 4 of them. One of them black labeled.
Did you sell it?
Oh, of course. Please.
Can we play over and under what you got for it?
I'll tell you exactly what I got for it. I don't care. No secrets. I got it out of I got it out of a $4 Walmart pack. And
I know the 10s are only like $100 in PSA.
It auctioned for $3,000, $3,050.
How long ago was this?
It was like 2020.
Okay, so the V Max was probably what back then? A few hundred.
It was like $100-$150 at the time.
For a 10?
No, just raw.
Okay.
That's just when Darkness Ablaze was coming out, and they didn't reprint the V Max.
I can't remember what a 10 was on that back then. So how much do you think the multiple was if you had to guess? Like 3-4x multiple?
I can tell you what the 10s were roughly, because with the 4 that I sent, I had 1 9.5, 2 gold labels 10s, and 1 black label. Yeah, I mean, I crushed. That was a good one. The gold label 10s, I think, sold for like $600.
Okay.
I didn't lose on any of them.
Well, obviously.
Even the 9.5, which is crazy. I still sold that for like $300.
I mean, so what'd you do? Did you just have 4 of them and send them, or like were you under the magnifying light, like making sure these were the absolute most perfect cards, or was it just luck? How do you know that you have a black label worthy card?
So it was, and once again, shout out Lazy. It was just kind of a play that we thought of at the time. I don't think it was anything special, but this is still early in the Ray career, right? So I was like, all right, I'm going to make this play. I'm going to buy a few of these and see what I can do, and just see if I can black label one. and I had 3 of them. And it actually turns out I just went to Walmart on the way home and I cracked one out of that pack, and that was the one that I was like, damn, this one looks really good. And Dan will like this, but I actually got home and let's see if I have it here. I know I have it. I took my caliper to it to measure it out, and I was like, man, I think it was 3 millimeter all the way around the border. I was like, man, this damn thing is like perfect. So. And even the back was that way too. Like the back was like one of the best backs I've ever seen, like perfectly clean.
Yeah.
And yeah, black labeled. I mean, I will say that card deserved it. Absolutely. It was not a.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, I mean, obviously you're not in this full time. You got a full-time job still.
Yeah.
And so, what's kind of your goal these days? Just kind of make enough doing the flipping to where you can kind of, the hobby is on its own, where you're not having to pour new money into it. And then what are you kind of doing with the profits that you do take out of the flipping?
Wish I can say that I had a goal.
I think that's like most of us in life.
I would say, as of right now, I really enjoy the personal experiences you get from like going to like a collecticon, right? So I've been starting, not, I mean, I do have an eBay that I'm constantly selling on, but I've really started catering my inventory to those shows, and getting really good to understand like what are people wanting, and listening to people and what they want, and selling into those shows. Because one, sorry government, but it's all cash. Right? But two, it's much more fun to sell that way, because you're selling to a person in front of you that really wants something that you have, and you're able to give them better deals at the time. There's no eBay taxes, things like that. So
Yeah.
I'm really, when I'm buying off people, I'm really trying to give them the most fair price I can too.
So when you say that, like, I'm trying to think how to word this. So, I mean, when you're selling it, the collecticons or all that stuff. So what's like the main, I say you don't really have a goal, but like, what's like are you hoping to make this like full-time one day, or is this always just going to be a side thing to you? No.
It's always going to be a side thing.
Okay.
No, I don't want this to be full-time. I don't want to ever look like it's a job. Okay. No way.
Well, from I've heard from others in the community, though, you're usually one of the larger sellers at these collecticons.
I don't know what they're talking about. They're full crap. This is what you're hearing is just it's fake news. Okay.
All honesty, I mean, you usually have pretty big selections. You usually bring a good amount of value, right?
Well, I think with even going to the first Collecticon with Dan, Nick, and Jake, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about what people want. Don't want to force people to like what I just like, even though I buy typically what I like, but like I also want to listen to what they're trying to pick up there. And so I said to you, the Unagaba is always pointed out in the case, or the monk promos, the screen promos.
Yeah.
I mean, you put those in your case at a Collecticon, almost every single time they're going to sell. Or even right now, the ponchos, like ponchos are just losing their minds, or trainers, full art trainers. But like listening to what they're talking about as they're going by, and investing your time into, actually communicating with people, it really helps you at those shows.
So are you more on the mindset of Dan, to where, catch 'em all collectibles, to where basically everything's always for sale? Are you constantly trying to, rinse your entire inventory? Are there cards or items that you do set back that you would say like aren't for sale, more of a investment piece, or are you just basically all in?
Yeah, it's a mix. I mean, I've definitely learned. I'm like, I'm not super innocent. I definitely have to buy things that I think that are going to sell well, and flip into something that I may want better, or do trades. So I wouldn't say absolutely everything's for sale though, but at a certain point it will be, right? I mean, because then you're just foolish not to.
Yeah, well, I guess what we're going to ask that is like, when we're talking about like the Poncho Pikachus, and when we're talking about the screen promos, are those things that like you bought recently, or I mean, did you hold on to those? I mean, so I'm starting to think. I mean, those have had some massive price movements other times. I mean, how would you still have those if you didn't get rid of them? Are those things you put away like for the future and then finally decided it was time because of the massive movements, or are you just constantly buying and selling those cards over and over? How do you end up with those high end cards for long periods of time?
Well, first of all, I was giving examples of stuff that is good and will sell well at a collecticon. I don't necessarily have any ponchos. I had some of these smaller, like the half art Pikachu, poncho Pikachus that I was selling. But even then, like, yeah, it's just buying them, and I don't want to say time to market because that's wrong. It's just a feeling, man. It's the best way I could describe. It's like, okay, this is time to let go, right? You get a feeling of like when you've been doing it long enough, and I'm sure you understand when I'm talking about that intuition of like, this is too low. You gave the example in your last live of when Rudy, I believe it was you, who gave Rudy when he bought Chilling Reign at, was it like $75 a box or something like that? It's too low.
Obvious play.
I mean, everybody looks back on it now and goes, "What the hell was I thinking?" Chilling Reign or even Battle Styles is not that bad. And I mean, I bought Battle Styles at $60, thinking this is just way too stupid low.
I mean, hey, everyone that watches my channel knows how I am about vintage. I mean, we already know we're not going to get in the vintage or modern debate, but I'm watching a lot of these first edition base set cards, and right now I'm thinking that same thing. This is way too low. This is way too low on a lot of those.
Yeah, especially I'm seeing. I mean, a lot of PSA 9s.
That's what I'm talking about.
I mean, just the PSA 9s. A lot of it's ridiculous. I actually looked up because I was collecting for a little bit. And I'm not sure if I'm still going to keep doing it or not. But I was going to do all of the Japanese gym hollows in a 10 because it's a cheap, reasonable get. Right. That the only real, I would say, expensive card is
Charizard.
is Charizard. But other than that, they're really, really cool cards that are fun. Go look at the price of those guys in the chat. Like the PSA 9s, they're nothing, like 40, $50.
Wow.
For like, it's stupid. And some of the 10s you get, they're $100. I mean, it's not. I think it was Giovanni's Nidoking I saw the other day on eBay. It was sold for like $95, I think, for a 10. I'm like, go get the pack. Go get the pack and hit that. I mean.
So my question is then, like, when you are going to collect, and especially when you're looking at like cards to to buy, to grade, or flip or sell, how much play does the pop report come in? Do you even worry about it? Nothing. You're a no pop report guy.
I don't care.
Okay.
It's stupid to care about that, I think.
Okay. So basically,
because it's been proven over time. If people haven't learned by now, it's been proven over time that the pop report doesn't really matter too much. And I don't want to say the word Moonbryon, but I'll say the word Moonbryon. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Well, do you think it doesn't matter? Do you think that we have to kind of I talked about this in my last live too, kind of adjust our belief system on what we think is a high pop? Like maybe a couple thousand copies isn't as crazy of a pop as we once thought, because if you have millions of people wanting a card, a few thousand copies isn't that crazy.
I've been saying that for a long time now. I've also, and I said it on Jake's channel, I think when we run live together, but like, what if we're in a new normal where, there's just more people right now collecting this, and then people automatically just go to, bubble, whatever. But I wasn't here in 2016, and this is where your perspective would come in very well here. In 2016, did you have the developed communities that you have now that are collecting and talking, engaging with this type of product? It's a simple yes or no question.
You had SM Pratt and E4.
Okay.
That was it.
And how many YouTube channels, how many Discords, how many paid Discords are there now?
Yeah.
Shout out Pokenomics. How many Discords are there that are just...
I'll allow that just because Dan's half owner.
I wanted to see what your face would be, but how many of those communities are out there now engaging in this type of content on a daily, almost 24-hour cycle?
Yeah,
compared to 2016.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by new normal. It doesn't mean the new normal means prices are going to stay up forever just because. No, we've already learned that with Watsy 2 years ago. That's not the case. Things can, fluctuate, but the new normal means that the people are here to stay. They like it.
So so from I hear you're pretty bullish. I mean, so you 5, 10, 15-year outlook, you're still thinking things look good?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Are you besides maybe like your retirement account? And I don't like equating this to finances a lot because
We have to though.
I'm not very good at it. I don't really talk finances too much, but two, like besides you just taking your money and blindly putting it into your retirement account, if you do that, what other investments do you look at on a daily basis? Like, you know what, in 10 years, this is going to be phenomenal.
Other than, we've like, me and my wife have talked like loosely about getting rental property, but no, literally just stock market and Pokemon is all we're really looking at daily. Well, like I take that back. I guess I do loosely follow crypto and like precious metals, but I don't have any significant amount of money in either one of those. So yeah, it's the largest amounts of money I have invested is Pokemon and the stock market.
So, but you're telling me you're going to look at crypto and be like, you know what, 10 years from now, Bitcoin is going to be legit again. I'm telling you, like, that's what you're thinking.
There's a possibility.
Isn't it better?
It's kind of like a mirror of this market almost. I mean, it's driven by popularity. It's driven by belief,
Sure. Oh, we're not talking about whether the market's going to be good or not, right? We're talking about if you're actually planning on a 10-year time frame.
Right.
No, is the answer. I mean, come on. So I would give you 5 years. I think 5 years is a reasonable, like, hey, 5 years from now, I think that starts to become like, yeah, we might 5 years from now be able to see what's going on, from this market and have a pretty good, assessment, but probably still not. So how the hell are we talking about 10 and 15 years?
Yeah. I mean, so okay, so you do put some things away for like longer term investments, right?
I essentially, yeah.
For like,
I don't mess with the stock market now, but I have retirement accounts.
As far as Pokemon goes.
Yeah.
Like with things in like a 2 to 5 year, maybe plus time frame.
You have to. Everybody in the chat, you have to. I mean,
okay.
That's not like you have to. I'm not saying that you can't plan for it. I'm just saying that the numbers past 5 years start to become very, very gray.
Right. That's kind of what I was going to get at is like, so, 2, 3, 4 years from now, are you just going to continue to keep reassessing? I mean, are you still going to be buying? I guess my question is, are you still going to be buying certain cards or certain products to put away for a 2 to 5 year time frame in 3 to 4 years? Like, do you continuously see the same outcome happening with sealed product as time goes on, as things age? Or is this, you still think this is kind of like an extended bubble of what happened during the pandemic?
I mean, I've just got 3 cases of V-Star Universe not long ago, if that answers your question.
Okay.
And I think V-Star Universe, in terms of a Japanese product, is probably one of the better things that you can be purchasing right now. Just put it that way.
Okay.
And I paid $75 a box, everybody, if you want to know.
$75 a box.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you're not in the Discord, but if you were in the Discord, you would see me shouting from the rooftops when VMAX Climax hit $50 a box. Like, people go buy this right now because it's way too cheap. And there's a lot of people in the chat that can back me up saying that. Yeah, VMAX Climax now is at 120, and that was like, I would say 6 to 8 months ago. It's now at $125 a box. So it essentially, doubled, after fees and shipping and stuff. And I would say,
it's actually 6 months. Fees and shipping, because I'll get crushed. I'll get crucified on not talking about that for some reason. People love their shipping and fees.
I mean, it can be killer, man.
It can. I agree.
I wouldn't say I love them.
Right. I agree with you, man. So go back to like Collecticon. So you say you like to have a good amount of like inventory for everyone. So does that mean you do, get into English and other things, or you mean like a good amount of Japanese inventory for everyone? Are you talking like, do you go back to like mid-era vintage? Do you go into English? Like how much of a selection do you usually bring, or is it kind of condensed into what you kind of are into at the time of Japanese?
I mean, it's certainly going to be what I can get my hands on, right? I mean, because there's just going to be some stuff like right now. I'm not going to be bringing a lot of full art Japanese trainers to any of these collecticons just because I can't get my hands on them to grade them, and you know, I'm not spending, you know, $1,000 on a raw card to hopefully get 1,500. I just don't have that kind of bankroll to do that, right? Um, but it's really a mix of cards and slabs, I would say between the $150 to $250 range. You want to have a good chunk of, and it doesn't matter because you'll find. I mean, everyone has a favorite Pokemon, right? But past that, look at the card. Um, does it
Yeah.
have a lot of eye appeal? You think about like when you're going to a jewelry store and you see something down there in the jeweler's case, it looks really, really pretty. Like that's who you're selling to in this market. You know, everybody here and everybody in this channel is thinking much more deeper a lot along this along of our product line that we're selling on a daily basis, right? They're thinking of the real deep aspects, like the 10 years into the future. When you're at a Collecticon, it's the people that are going by and it's catching their eye at that time and buying things. You're going to get the people there who are, you know, a little bit more like us too, who see some of the cooler stuff, and you know, you may have some of that in the case. But other than that, you want eye candy, man.
It's so funny you mentioned jewelry. I was just thinking in my mind, like, imagine if jewelry was like Pokemon. You go in there, no way I'm paying that much. How much did your distributor give it to you for? Well, how much did the diamond cutter get it for? How much is it actually worth? I'm not paying that. I'm not paying the retail price.
Does this cut from a bloodline, or is this a blood diamond? You know what I wish I could do, and I thought about this at a Collecticon. You know how you go into the jeweler's cases and they have those beautiful glass cases that have like the lights that shine down on all the jewelry. It makes it really sparkle. I
Yeah.
wish I could do that to make all those hollows pop and stuff.
You can do that. You can set that up.
It's you can I can for my local shows. It's so hard when you're traveling across the country. You got to rent the cases.
So
Unless I can
local
just
show. So I mean, if you had to kind of put a guess about how many like Collecticons local shows, about how many places do you sell at live in person per year on average?
I mean, considering I hate to say that because I mean I would have started in Charlotte, which would have been like last year. So it just really started in the past year. But I've been to I think 6 or 7 Collecticons by now, and probably 3 or 4 local shows.
Okay.
So if I can do one a month, that'd be awesome. But it's I got a family and stuff too, so it's a little bit difficult.
And then you say the best things that sell are usually like those $200 to $300 cards, and is it like mostly just ultra modern?
$50 to $250
50 to 200.
cards.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to have.
It's ultra modern. It's not a lot of like mid-era vintage. Okay.
Honestly, it's so hard to say. It could be a mix. I would say you want to be more, and people might get mad at me for letting the sauce out of the bottle. Retro always says that, but like, I don't know. Isn't it pretty wise to go after popular species? I don't want to put a hunt tail in my case. In fact, I could tell you I've had a hollow hunt tail. I don't even. I had a hollow hunt tail in my case for I don't know how many Collecticons now, and no one's even looked at it.
Well, I think Rudy talks about it like in the stock market. It's like people will see like a penny stock, and they'll think, "Oh my gosh, this is super cheap." And it's like, but then they'll see a stock that's $100 a share, and they'll think, "Oh, it's so expensive." When realistically, maybe it's not, right? Like some stocks that were like that dropped from the crazy COVID, they bottomed out around 100, and now not financial advice, but now something like Nvidia is a $400 stock again. And it was 100 literally like months ago, and it's like so that $100 stock was actually cheap. That penny stock probably went to zero and bankrupt by now. It was actually expensive. And it's the same thing with Pokemon. It's like, just because you see these unpopular species or these cards in them on ones that are super cheap, it doesn't mean they're really cheap. It means they're priced at what the market is valuing them at. So it's like, just because the Charizard cost $100 or $200, maybe it is cheaper. Maybe it's before its price growth. You don't know. And so, no, I agree with you. Popular species, the way to go. Don't fight the current, go with the waves. So why try to fight the momentum of like what was happening in ultra modern and Japanese? Why not be part of it and ride the wave up, right? Because eventually that wave is going to come down. But guess what? There'll be an opportunity somewhere else. Then the money and popularity and all the interest moves.
And to be clear too, like higher end stuff definitely moves. I just don't have it. Like I don't have that kind of inventory. I haven't been around long enough. I wasn't able to get in and get some of this stuff cheaper. I know Dan crushes it with some of his old vintage WotC stuff. It's just I don't have it. Trust me, if I had a first edition base Blastoise, a Shadowless Blastoise, I would have it in my case, and it would sell just fine.
Well, that's why I love hearing from you though, is because like Dan and like Nick, like the guys that that have been there. Oh, looks like he's here. The guys that have been around forever have these giant backlogs of inventory. Yeah, it makes sense. They still have a lot of stuff to sell, but that's why I like hearing from you, someone who got in a little later than me, but similar times, is if we didn't build up that inventory then, what are people doing now, like getting into the market? A lot of people that watch my channel, they're new. They've been in Pokemon maybe a year or less, maybe 2 years or less, and they're trying to get an inventory, get a collection, get everything started now. And that's why I think like I like hearing what you're doing, because that's a great advice, is you can still do this today.
Yeah. And don't get too down on yourself if you go to a Collecticon and suck. I mean, I would say, because we were just at Dallas, that was the last Collecticon. And a lot of the guys, I mean, if you want some, inter-talkings of some of the guys who were selling in my section, it wasn't don't get me wrong, some people sold a lot, but it wasn't a huge selling show. It was definitely more of a buying and trading show. A lot of people, it was just slower on the sales side. I mean, or because coming from Orlando, and I think Josh said this last week on your show, that Orlando was kind of nuts in terms of selling. There was a lot of buyers there at Orlando. Dallas was just more, it was really just more I did a lot of buying and trading. Not that I didn't sell a lot too, but not nearly as much as Orlando.
All right. Well, I guess I'll let him in. He's 45 minutes. Actually, wait, 55 minutes late.
I gotta meet this guy.
Well, Andy doesn't have his camera on. Mr. Collector.
Yo, what up? Collector out here. What's good? And nah, bro, I wasn't no freaking super duper late, bro. I told you 6:25, bro.
6:25. It's what?
Look at it closely, bro. I told you 6:25 right there.
All right.
Yeah. We ain't late. What's good?
You're getting some bros too, man.
So you're not gonna turn your camera on, man?
I can't, bro. I don't got a camera. I told you. Damn, you guys are grilling the fuck out of me. I haven't even done shit. Damn. Like so a true collector comes into the chat and everybody wants to start crucifying.
Hold on, Alex, you didn't tell me you were inviting a true collector to this live. I'm not worthy.
Not worthy.
No, I can't.
All right, man. So now that you are here, so True Collector did not want to reveal who he was, but he's
I just represent the collectors out here, bro. You know what I'm saying?
He's always in my chats. He's always in a lot of other channels' chats. I can tell you that 100%. And he's always got a lot to say. So not gonna reveal who it is. He's asked me not to. I thought we'd at least get him on camera though. But no, I mean, I just thought it'd be good to kind of have a little bit of everything. Like we're all obviously definitely a mixture of everything. We're all collectors. I these days I definitely side a lot more on like the investing type side. Ray, he puts things away for investments, so he's definitely going to be a lot more versed in the day-to-day like buying and selling these days. And I wanted to have someone on who's literally just here to collect, like isn't worried about all the different ways you can make money, isn't worried about the financial value of holding sealed cases. And I just wanted to have like different perspectives on what's going on in the hobby. And so Mr. True Collector, do you want to give us an idea of what it means to be a true collector in this hobby?
Well, first and foremost, to touch on the point, I just want to clear the air first and foremost. First and foremost, Namix, brother. I think that it's pretty wide clear based off, not only, all the tubers that came through since 2020 and all the tubers that were there in 2016, but since the boy Rudy started being on YouTube, I think that it was pretty nice, the attention that there was in in investing in sealed and like it going up. I mean, the words that you say, and he repeats them as well. Name a Pokemon booster box, you know what I mean? That's under 100, right? That came out. All of them have done it. All of them increased. So I think the first thing we got to get out of the way is, yes, investing in sealed is it's good. It works. I mean, it's proven, right? I could recall the conversation you had with Pokenomics. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, some things just go up. You know, like Pokemon's in our veins. You know what I'm saying? Houses go up, gold and silver go up, and Pokemon's gonna go up because we're out here. You know what I'm saying? I mean, geez, even freaking Magic that people don't even play that much goes up. But anyway, so
Magic goes up.
Magic goes not right now, bro, but Magic's going up, bro.
Magic's going down.
Well, hold on. There was controversy and stuff like lately, but we're talking. I mean, look at Call Time. Look at
lately. It's been like 3 years.
No, hold on. Look at Call Time Booster. Look at Call Time Booster and tell me they're under $100. Look at Strixhaven boosters. Tell me they're under $100. And those things were in the dumps like back in our time in 2020. So, I mean, yeah, right now it might not be so hot because of what happened, but you look at Lord of the Rings collectors, that's pumped. You know what I mean? You look at Double Masters. Some things are good, some things are not so good, but I think there's more hype in the Pokemon sector. But anyways, the main point I wanted to say was, yes, like I think with the sealed thing, you know, with the whole sealed, like, is it good? I think we could all agree that it's very good. It works. You know what I mean? And you know, as long as you, obviously not financial advice, as long as you're taken care of and, you know, you're not over leveraged and stuff like that, you know, if you want to, you know, invest in Pokemon, then go ahead and buy some seals, put it away. Right.
So how do you enjoy the hobby? So what are you collecting? You know, what do you see?
Right. So first and foremost, I do have like, you know, like some cases, some booster cases, you know what I mean? Some ETBs, you know what I mean? Things like that. Like we do have that in the back, but the truth of the matter is that like, it's not very exciting. It's not very fun, you know what I mean? It just sits there and, you know, in the storage locker or whatever, you know what I mean? And it doesn't really hit me that hard, you know, but when I got back into the hobby, you know what I mean? I just started kind of researching, you know. I do like the pop report. I do, you know, I did look into it like real heavily, you know what I mean, and whatever. And yeah, I just kind of decided to just go for cards that I like, you know what I mean? And kind of just kind of like build positions on those, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people like to invoke the name of Rudy, but you know, I don't see anybody buying out collections and then saying that they're going to put them in a vault, you know what I mean? Usually people are buying collections and flipping them, you know what I mean? And I feel like that's a part of the hobby that is not really talked about a lot, about the people accumulating it, you know what I mean? Single cards, I'm saying. And that's pretty much it. So I just kind of engage the market like that, you know, instead of so much instead of, you know, the flipping, churning and burning. I respect it, you know what I mean? Like obviously maybe I had some venom in the past for some of the people that were flipping, but at the end of the day, I think we're all like a microcosm of the market. You know, we all vote with our dollars, you know what I'm saying? And
so where are your dollars going right now besides, like, you know, I mean, are you, I mean, I know we've talked in the past, you know, on Discord and things like about like, you know, vintage and you know,
Yes,
very rare, very scarce cards throughout like the mid-era and vintage. I mean, is that kind of where you're at right now, or are you starting to kind of do more of the ETB booster box, like a more in my opinion, sure thing type stuff?
Right. No, as far as the sure things type stuff, I'm kind of like not really actively purchasing anymore. I'll probably look to get some Lost Origin. I really like that set. Didn't pick any up when it was up, but maybe the reprints will make it the price a bit more attractive. But no, honestly, I'm just focusing buying. I mean, again, I'm not trying to pump or shield nothing. You know what I mean? I don't. You know what I mean?
Are you any relation to Basic Trainer by any stretch or any chance? Because a lot of the stuff that you're saying sounds a lot like what Basic Trainer would be saying.
No, I do like Basic Trainer though. He's pretty cool.
And if I was gonna say, and if you haven't watched any of Basic Trainer stuff, I would recommend it because he's got a lot of you know, great philosophies and ideas in the hobby, and I like the way Basic goes about things. It's just you just have a lot of the shared, I guess, ideologies. It seems like.
Basic chat, by the way.
You know what's funny? A side note about Basic Trainer, you know, I type in Basic Trainer into the YouTube search and he does not come out. So I don't know, you know, I don't know if that's like, you know what I mean? Like if there's like a more specific name for him or something like that, but I do kind of like try to look for his content, but I don't, you know, I don't know if he's like producing. I don't know if you're out there, Basic Trainer, you know, producing content still, but I'd love to see more videos come from you, bro. I appreciate that. And I do agree.
So anyhow,
All
sorry, I interjected there in the middle of the question. So what are you investing in?
Again, not investing, bro. You know what I mean? Like really, like I don't think these things are investments because what people don't understand is that in order to sell these, let's go with like maybe like $500 to $1,000 cards. You know what I mean? It's not so easy. You know what I mean? And on top of that, like I don't really care to get rid of them. You know what I mean? Like I'm honestly more so an accumulator. I personally really like gold stars. I'll just go out and say I really love gold stars. The way that they look, you know what I mean? The way that they kind of have this like shadow to them. If you're able to put them like on the glare, like around the border of the hollow where the attack is at, like it causes the shadow. It's very easy to discern if a fake gold star between one that's not. And yeah, I'm just happily accumulating more gold stars, and I just really love them. As far I do want to comment on something you said, Ray. You know what I mean? You were talking about like the pops and stuff like that and how they don't matter. Okay, fair enough. The pops don't matter, but to me, when it comes to ultra modern, it's almost like it's kind of a joke in my opinion, right? I really went into the underbelly of the Pokemon hobby, and I really figured out how it's possible for things to happen, quote unquote. You know what I mean? So, for example, I've seen PSA 6s get cracked and turned into PSA 10s. I've seen, just the wildest things ever. You know what I mean? I just saw the PSA Moonbreon that got cracked from a PSA slab sent to Beckett, and it got the black label 10. You know what I'm saying? So, when I was in the hobby, I was like, how is that possible? Like, what's going on and whatever. And, the fact of the matter is that people in this hobby have inside deals, you know what I'm saying, with grading companies, and they will turn the blind eye to alteration of cards, and they will give certain people 10s instead of others. I know this for a fact. I know what it is. So when I look at those things, I look at 6,800 PSA 10s, okay, for Moonbreon. I look at 85,000 total cards from Evolving Skies graded, and 88,000 of those were Moonbreons. So that's 10% of all the graded cards of freaking of Evolving Skies were just Moonbreons. You know what I'm saying? And so, anyways, not to get like real crazy, I just don't really care or trust PSA 10s and Beckett 10s and Black Label 10s and like condition rarity. I personally do not care at all for it, because I know that there's a guy out there, many people.
So what are you collecting? You're collecting all raw?
No, just honestly more so PSA 6s, 7s, 8s, maybe some 5s, maybe even some crease damage boys, like it doesn't really matter to me.
So what you just basically said is you agreed that the population report doesn't matter?
I believe that what matters. Well, wait a minute. No, the reason why to me it matters is because wait a minute. I'm gonna tell you the reason why it matters is because it something that never gets talked about is what is the amount of cards that were printed, how many Moonbreons were actually printed, right? And there is nothing that will give us an accurate number on what that will be, right? Except the pop report. That's the only thing that will give us a little bit of something about how many of these cards were actually produced.
But you also just told me that the pop report was sus.
It is sus. But if you go from, there's hold on, wait a minute. There's 8,800 Moonbreons graded. Okay. Sure. Does that, are some of those cracked out from 9s and made into 10s and whatever? Sure. A certain percentage of that gone. But my main point is that it is not a scarce card. Okay, I understand that the pull rate is difficult, but it is not a scarce card. There are many produced. People say, "Oh, what's going on with the PSA 9, WotC cards?" Right? Well, guess what, bro? WotC Unlimited is not rare. WotC Unlimited is not scarce. You know what I'm saying? If you really look at it closely, first edition is not really that scarce. Like if you really see it, it's not that scarce. But you look at mid-era stuff, for example. That looks scarce, like the trophies or whatever, like true scarcity. That's kind of like what I'm into.
Okay, I agree.
Well, yeah, I mean,
you just said. I mean, yeah. None of it's rare, except for trophies. You're not wrong.
Yeah, basically what you're trying to say for like the collectors out there, like don't get caught up in the pop reports, don't get caught up in the condition rarity. and really just go after, kind of get a sense of how many have been printed, how many are actually out there.
That's what I did exactly. Okay. I mean, and not only that, right? Like, so you look at, for example, like I'll just read my favorite card ever is Latias Gold Star, right? It's got a population, a total of around 530, something like that. I could tell you right now that there are not 530 slabbed PSA Latias Gold Stars. There are not. There are less, because these things get cracked and they slabber on Kurt's card care on them. They freaking fix up the edges and the corners, and they send it, and it gets a better grade. So the total pop of that card is lower than what it should be.
Yeah, okay, but like, so I mean, as far as like the monetary value, though, you're not worried about that. You're just worried about getting a good looking car. You're not worried at all about the financials behind it.
Well, it's because that's the thing, right? Like, these cards are pretty expensive. You know what I mean? Even in 6s and 7s and stuff like that.
Well, and not only that, there's very big premiums going up from a 7 to an 8 or an 8 to a 9. So,
very big. Yeah,
I mean, big relative, but there's premiums attached to it, much more than the grading fee, or
definitely around like 18%, something like that. No, you're right, absolutely, yeah. I mean, we bite that bullet. You know what I mean? We bite that bullet to put that card in the vault and never let it go, again. I am playing the long game. I am looking. I agree with Ray. You can't really look 10 years down the line, because nobody freaking knows what's going to happen 10 years down the line. You could freaking get hit by a car and die. You know what I'm saying? So I like to look at things, maybe 2 years down the line and then reevaluate 3. But I do plan on holding these cards for a long time. They're beautiful.
You can also agree that the pop report doesn't matter, because with everything you said, it doesn't really matter.
Well, wait a minute. To me, it does, because you know, if you go on eBay, hold on, wait a minute. If you go on eBay right now, you could buy 50 Moonbryons in PSA 10. Try to buy 50 Latias Gold Stars without moving the market. You will not. So it doesn't matter. If there's a lower pop, then it's easier to move the market. No, actually, no, not necessarily. No. So no, scratch that. If there's a lower pop, it takes less. It takes less players to move that and to kind of play with that stuff. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Yeah, I think we got a good. I think we definitely got a good consensus of what it takes to be a collector.
No. To each their own, though. You know what I mean?
All right, man. All right. Well, I'm gonna get back to it with right here. Appreciate it, bro. All right. So getting back on track. So as far as I mean, we talk about the long-term future. So as far as the future in the next year or 2 years, what's kind of the track? I mean, are you just gonna kind of keep trying to build? Or I guess my main thing is what a lot of people always like to know. Is this thing where you have a pretty decent job and you're able to continue to pour new funds into the hobby and continue to grow this? Or is this thing where you're just trying to buy and flip enough to continue to build your collection, build your inventory that way, and kind of keep the hobby self-sustaining for yourself?
Yeah, what you just, I mean, you say it on your lives as well. This is something that's slow over time. Certainly you're going to run into some of those folks who kind of, I don't want to say hit it lucky, because they may have thought it through and it worked out for them, where they get a few cards and all of a sudden they go from, $10 to $1,500 overnight, which seems like, and that they've now hit it pretty big and can make some bigger plays. But really, at the end of the day, that's what it's slowly evolved into something like that for me. I went from selling $50 slabs to where I can start selling $500 slabs to where I can start selling $1,000 slabs. It's just a slow roll, man. You have to do that. And I think, I'm sorry I keep citing your last live, but it was pretty darn good. There was a lot of good information in it. But you were saying how there's a pretty large capital investment up front in some of this stuff, and there really is. And unless you're really, you have a job to support that, or you're kind of constantly flipping back into the hobby to where you can keep allowing that snowball to grow, you're going to drown eventually. I mean, and there's been a couple of times where I was like, "Oh, is this going to work out?" Right?
Yeah. I mean, there's always those guaranteed plays, right? Where like, you know, you can source a card and mint condition at this price. You know, if it gets a 10, it's a home run. You know, if it's a 9, you're making money. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely those plays where you got to take those gambles, and to where it's like, well, if I get a bunch of 9s, like you were talking about buying 30 of a card, it's like, well, if I don't get a good amount of 10s in this, I could actually end up coming out, you know, behind after fees and shipping, or have to hold on to some of my stock for a while. So that's actually a huge point. You know, there's not everything's guaranteed in this hobby.
And sometimes, man, it's not about, you know, even grading. Like, you can do just fine with raw cards if you know what you're doing and know what you're looking for. I mean, I just bought, and Ponga, shout out Ponga in the chat. He knows the card I'm talking about, but I just bought like 200 of a card that we'll see what happens, right? I mean, that's kind of the feel. I have good feelings on it, but like it was cheap enough to where if nothing happens with it, I'm sure I'll make my money back on it, no problem. But you know,
So when you
it was a $2 card. If it goes to $5, I just doubled and a half my money roughly, right? I mean, I'm doing okay.
So when you say like you bought 200 cards, obviously we're not mentioning the card, but so are you one? I guess for question one, are you sending all those in the same graded submission? And then two, you know, when you get them back, if they're not performing, is that something you hold on to and just hope for better in the future? You can like kind of hold on to that capital. You don't need to continue to flip it, or do you just kind of start letting it go, take a loss if need be, just to recoup the capital? How's that whole system play out?
Well, this is probably the second time. I mean, I never bought into a card like this much before. Let me put it that way. So I'm still kind of exploring, you know, uncharted territory for myself. But it's just kind of the faith that I've, you know, and the intuition that we were talking about earlier that I've gathered over time to say, you know what, this doesn't look like, because it's not always about the maximums, right? I think some people really got spoiled during the, you know, the WotC boom era, where a card would 1,000,000%. And you're like, when at the end of the day, if I can make a card go from $2 to $5, you know, 200 times, it's pretty good.
What do you
Not
mean by
everything
2 to 5?
has
I
to
mean,
be.
we're talking raw. So I mean, do you literally just hold on to it raw?
Yeah. Now the goal would be if there's some in that stack that I have that I can grade, because once again, this also goes back to what you talked about before, where it's just like sealed. If I can sell enough of that sealed to pay for the rest of the sealed, then that's sealed sitting up there for free for me. Well, if I can grade some of these cards, I don't know, get $50 for them. I mean, that's now 25 cards I paid for, you know, not counting the grading fee, obviously. But if I can get a few 10s out of there and make some money back on them, I now have them for free.
Okay, and I know you said before, I'm not trying to back you in a corner. I know it sounds like that. I'm just trying to learn. So
Yeah, no,
before you said you were mostly eBay and buy. Is when you're buying that level of cards, is that like a TCG player thing, or is that still eBay or buy you're finding all those?
Troll and Toad, TCG Player, yeah.
Okay.
And I usually prefer when you look up a card like that. I mean, dude, I don't want to go through TCG Player and, you know, add to cart, add to cart, add to cart, add to cart in every listing. I want to find a listing that has like 50 of them and buy that out.
Even if it's not the lowest, just pay the extra just for the
Yeah,
convenience.
it's just not worth it.
I get it.
I'm not gonna nickel and dime, because at the end of the day, it is, you know.
Okay, and then without without blowing up your play, what are the main things you're looking for? So I can try to recap it. So you're looking for popular Pokemon. People are wanting good artwork. Just something you see that I guess feels undervalued. I mean, what are the main things you're looking for when you make a play like that on a single card at $2? Like, what makes you think that $2 card is going to be a $5 card?
Number one has to be the species of Pokemon. Once again, I'll go back to it. Like, I don't think Blissey is going to have a ridiculously expensive card anytime soon. I like Blissey, great Pokemon, but it's just not going to happen. You need to stick to the, popular species of Pokemon when you're doing that. Or, because if you're not doing that, then you're really diving into some, semantics of why cards are doing what they're doing, and that's not the level that I'm that I'm not willing to dive into. Of maybe looking into the pop report of why this thing is that there's not a ton of them there. I don't care. I just want to get the good looking card that I can look at pretty confidently and be like, you know what, this isn't a $2 card. to be fair, that was me just several years ago looking at Dream League, looking at the Cosmic Eclipse, the trainer gallery that's all in there. The amount of cards that I purchased. I mean, the Pikachu in that set. I'm sure you're familiar with that, right? The Pikachu and Cosmic
Yeah,
Eclipse.
absolutely.
I think I bought like 35 of those in Dream League from Dream League, which is the same card, just a silver border. It looks way better, and they
Well,
were $20 each, $15 each.
okay. And so,
So
like, when you're talking about that play, like, how many plays like this are you making, or like how much capital? I mean, you've obviously have a large amount of capital if you're making multiple plays
yeah.
like this with hundreds of cards, right?
No, I wouldn't say so. I'm a normal person, man. I don't really. Um, I wouldn't say that. I'm no whale like Dan.
Okay.
I definitely no. I'm really not. Like I really want to try to be humble about that, because it really doesn't take like I say the Dream League play, because look at Dream League now. Look at it now. Like, it just took a little bit of foresight to realize maybe these cards are a little bit more special at that time than what it was at that time. People made fun of me for liking Cosmic Eclipse. That's probably one of my favorite sets of all time. Printed to oblivion. No one likes it. It's crap. Yeah.
So I mean, capital wise, I mean, what are we talking? Like between like capital, liquid and inventory. I mean, probably have to be playing with somewhere in like the 50 to 100K more.
Maybe that's what my inventory's worth, but I don't have that sitting around.
I'm just trying to give everyone out there like a realistic sense of like what it takes to do the things on the level you're doing them. That's all.
Sure. No, but the thing is I didn't start with that though, man. It all snowballed though, and make the most important thing is, making the mistakes. I mean, I remember getting made fun of, rightfully so, for the amazing rare Rayquaza. I was so bullish on that, and I was wrong. I mean, so for all of them that I may have gotten right, I mean, I probably gotten many of them wrong too. So
yeah, I'm not going to act like I'm some genius, but I never got into the amazing rares. I legitimately thought in my soul that it was a YouTuber push. I was like, these are just a hair above what breaks were. I just felt like there's some group of people out in the community that are pushing these for a reason. And I didn't understand it. I'm like, these are not like some rare after cards. I don't know why they got so hot.
We get name. Scott said it in a video. He also said the illustration Charizard promo.
Okay,
that's what sent those things to the moon. It was SM Pratt. Yeah.
That's what I mean. You could tell it had to be something weird like that.
Yeah, and they went absolutely crazy, and it's not a bad thing. I mean,
because primes never did the same thing. It was like breaks were terrible, and then amazing rare, and then primes didn't have the same trajectory. It was really weird why amazing rares got picked to be the thing. I guess just because the artwork, because they had some popular Pokemon. I don't know what it was.
Some of the art's really nice. I do like it, but
yeah.
What happened is in Vivid Voltage is there's just too many of them. I don't like usually saying that because it kind of goes against what I was saying earlier about pop report doesn't matter, but there really was, I think, a lot more of that subset out there than what was anticipated, because in Legendary Heartbeat, the Japanese version of part of Vivid Voltage, those amazing rares are 1 per box, so they're a little bit they're a little bit more rare.
Dan says, why would you work all day for 200 when you could black label a $10 card?
I mean, he's not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, so when we're talking about all this again, we're talking about the Japanese side of things. So like all these cards you're talking about buying like 200 of, we're talking about Japanese.
No, that was English.
Oh, that's an English play.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, that was English.
So what kind of luck have you had so far with like, I mean, because I've been critical of it. Definitely TCG player, definitely trolled and toad. I've been critical of near mint. I mean, I guess at that level, like when you're making these 35 and 50 and 200 card plays, I mean, what percentage on average are gradable? Because I mean, with me, I've never made those kind of plays, but I mean, buying small amounts of cards, I feel like it's hard to find a condition card where I think can get a 10, much less a pristine, much less a black label. And so like what amount of cards would you say that have that chance of a, 10 or even a black label when you buy them near mint on pictures unseen?
This is where I think you probably have to think a little bit through too, and think of the worst case scenario, because I looked through that stack of cards finally. They've been sitting on my desk for about a week. And this is where I go back to English card quality is terrible. Maybe 10% of that 200 might have a very small chance at a 10 because of English card quality. They were just cut like crap, all of them, every single one of the cards. They all have the exact same corner cut that's pretty poor. So yeah, those are likely all that play that I made, although may sound genius, but that's where I say think of the worst, because I still think it's a $5 card that I actually got for $2. May not be that next week, but I do think that eventually.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you can just kind of had it in your mind that if I've tied this capital up for a certain amount of time, I'm willing to do that. I still see the future in that card.
Yeah, at worst, I think it's a $5 card. It just
Yeah.
may take a year or two. Okay, fine, whatever. Part of it's me wanting to see if that plays out. I mean, I'm buying other cards while I'm doing that, but yeah, more what I would say, financially savvy cards, right? The things that are hot at the moment.
Yeah, I see Dan trolling in the chat. I was kind of taking him serious. He was saying TCG player near mint, all PSA 7s, every single set. And even I asked him, I think Pokemon Gym Hero asked him, and then he said, I plead the fifth. So I guess Dan's saying that he must have done well. I know he recently bought a large amount of certain cards. He had made a video about off TCG player. So maybe he is having good luck with it. Maybe others do. I've never went to that level. I just haven't had good luck with what I have bought from TCG player over the years. And so I've never wanted to take those 30, 50, 100 card risks, but hey, I guess certain sellers, you get lucky.
I'll tell you this though. You have to look at it from the opposite perspective. I know several card shop owners who have said this by now, but a lot of them will just list everything that they have as LP. Everything. It could be a totally near mint card, but they just list it all as LP because there's less of a chance that they're going to get refunded and have to deal with all that crap.
I do that.
So look at it from that perspective too. That's where you have to find good sellers. You might have to get that experience.
Especially what's crazy is LP a lot of the times doesn't even sell for much less than near mint, which is nuts to me. And so if I'm listing a card and I think it's like a lower near mint, like a 7, 8, and an LP is literally like 50 cents less, I'll just throw it in LP. You have way less to worry about. Yep.
Yeah. And having a friend who's a card shop owner, he'll send me messages from time to time from emails with people requesting a refund. And some of it is just, you know what's happening. I mean, they'll buy a $20 card, right? And let's just say it's the Cosmic Eclipse Pikachu. I don't even know what it is, but let's just say, and it's too off center to be graded. So they'll want a refund because it's too off center and isn't near mint. And it's still
I would have liked to do that so many times, but I'm fair and I'm honest. So it's like, I know they're not going to get the grades I want, but it's like, hey, at the end of the day, it's near mint. And like at the end of the day, I know they're 7s and 8s, so I can't complain.
Oh, you mean you have integrity?
Right.
Yeah. Is that what you mean? Yeah. Because
so what I'll do is I'll turn around and I'll throw it on my page as light play. And then I'll go buy another near mint copy from someone until I get the condition one I want. Just because, and I eat the little, the loss I made, whatever.
I do the exact same thing. Yeah, that's the fair way to do it.
I think Dan's just, I think with his whole surgery and stuff, I think he's
dude is high as a kite right now.
I think he's on some meds because
and he's throwing everything he can at the wall because he's probably bored out of his mind, doesn't know what to do. I mean,
I think Old Card Shop makes a good point, though. I guarantee you will be more critical in your card's condition than $20 an hour PSA grader. I agree. I mean, some of those cards, they probably would have black labeled or at least pristine, like some of my cards that I think are going to get 10s because I'm pretty critical. But at the same time, man, I'm going to really like to see when Dan gets all those cards back and if he makes a video on it because I don't know.
Alex, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
This is a really important question, but like, $20 an hour bad? Am I crazy right now? Am I showing my boomer side? But like, Josh is referencing this question like, this is
41 6
41 a year, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that terrible? I mean, especially since I would assume some of the population that's grading this is probably of the younger generation. Damn, I would have loved to start making $20 an hour when I was like 19, 20.
Get married and have a wife or husband that makes 20. Now you're making 80 something a year. Not too bad.
Oh, here we go. Now he's saying he lives in California, so therefore we gotta, it's all about what he makes up in California, and
I mean that is true though.
I don't care. I just want to give him shit.
We'll give him that. California's rough. But I mean, I know nothing about California. I mean, is it like that in the whole state, or is it like just like the really condensed area, LA and San Francisco, or is it like all of California that expensive to live?
Pretty sure all of California.
All of it.
Expensive.
Real estate's just out of control everywhere you go.
Yeah, especially where I live in Florida. It's nuts.
Oh, you live in Florida?
I live in Florida. Yeah.
Ah, okay. So
what's that supposed to mean?
Well, when you were telling me, about needing to do the live tonight because you're going to the parks, I'm like, okay. I thought you were going like a huge vacation, but you're just driving down the road.
Oh no, dude, this is a weekend. Yeah, this
awesome.
is an everyday weekend. Hey, let's just go hang out with Mickey. No big deal. 2-hour drive.
What area do you live in?
I live in Southwest Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice place to live.
Yeah.
Would you recommend it?
Yeah, actually.
I'm not kidding. Me and my wife have this conversation like every few months. Like, so where are we moving to in Florida? Where are we moving?
There's 2 places where I would live. Well, where are you at roughly?
I'm in Missouri.
Because like coming from the Northeast, I'm from the Philly area. I'm just not a big fan of that whole area. The a lot of attitudes. I'll call it that way. And that's like a lot of the East Coast. The West Coast is more Midwestern, more chill.
Yeah.
By the way,
I live in a
pretty talk with Alex and Ray.
Yeah.
But I would live where I'm at, which I'll DM you where I'm actually at.
Yeah, that's cool.
As well as the St. Augustine area of Florida.
Yeah, we've been there.
It's nice.
Yeah, I agree.
But housing is also
cool.
Absolutely nuts.
Yeah, maybe then I can make it to that Florida Collecticon next year.
The Orlando one, man.
I know. I hear you. Hey, does anyone in the chat have any questions you want us to cover? Ray, I know I asked you before, but did you have anything any topics you wanted to bring up and talk about?
I mean, dude, I'm just here to chill out and hang out. I mean, it's whatever. I don't. I wish we would have discussed it a little beforehand. You could see how much planning we did talk before coming on this live.
I'm the worst. Every time I invite someone on, they ask me the same question every single time. It's yeah, no problem. So what topics were you wanting to discuss, or what you have planned? Absolutely nothing, but I'll try to come up with something good.
So, question for you then.
What's that?
You said, because I think it was during the live with Jake, you kind of showed off your slab case a little bit, saying that you collect too. But like, man, I gotta fix my camera here. But like, what is it that Alex is after when he's collecting? If he's collecting, does Alex hold for a while? I know for sealed you have that kind of that, I don't know, 2 to 3 year flow. I think roughly.
Yeah.
But what is it for your slabs that you're doing? I don't know if I've ever heard you talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I hate attaching time frames to anything. So like,
yeah, that it's a tough.
Yeah, you can say 2 to 3 years. We'll say 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Like it's really whenever and it depends on like how much I have of the product. So if I only have like 2 cases, I want to make sure where the product gets high enough where I can just sell 1 case and recoup my money and keep the other one free. If I have like 5 cases of something where I went in more heavy, it only has to get to maybe, I don't know, 170, 180 a box. Then I can sell a few cases, recoup all my money, and just still keep one or one in a few boxes. And so I always like to get to a point in my sealed where I'm completely out of it, 100% risk-free. My money's paid back. And then I just rinse that and repeat into the newest sealed items. That's kind of how I treat that. As far as the collecting goes, I try to be, still the best like I can financial wise. Like I actually do pay attention to the pop reports.
Dude, it's totally fine to do that, by the way. Like I just don't. I get why people would do it. Like it's just not for me.
Even when I see if I see cars that are like you know, in the 10,000, you know, 5 or 10,000 pop, I'll just buy it and like I'll either buy it raw and grade it, or if the nines. This is another thing. Like I know Dan's always against, you know, buying plastic, but guys, if a 9 is literally like 20 or 30 bucks, I'm just gonna buy the 9 if I want to collect it. Like, why am I gonna waste my time trying to find a raw card, send it in, pay the grading fee, maybe save a couple bucks? I'd rather just buy the card, have it in hand, and let the guy make his few dollar profit that graded the 9. But no, as far as like what I've been collecting lately, it's been some Sun and Moon cards, a lot of like the Sun and Moon promos, XY promos, XY full arts and secret rares. I did put together that first edition base set, PSA 9. Yeah, I'm gonna keep my eye on like some of the cards I want, but like I really don't want to pay the money for, like, you know, the Shinings and Neo, things like that. But and then some other like WotC cards. Like I'm a really basically just first era like WotC. I never really got into, you know, kind of I never even got into Neo when I was a kid. I definitely didn't get into like Aquapolis, Skyridge, mid-era, like Diamond Pearl. I never got into any of that stuff. So for me, it really stops at like WotC. But then I did play like the games. I was still into the show, so I know Gen 2 pretty well. And so I do like the Neo sets. And then it kind of just jumps to XY and Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield. And so those are kind of the areas that I collect because those are the areas I know. Sure, I could go try and chase some of like the heavy hitters and the stuff in the mid-era, but it really wouldn't mean anything to me. And if I'm going to just put something in it because I believe in it or want to invest, I'll just put it in sealed product or something else. And so like my collection, what I'm looking for my collection is completely different than what I'm looking for in my investment. I'm just looking for my collection to, if I believe that those cards are not going to be that cheap in the future. So I don't necessarily think it's going to outpace the sealed investments. It might not even outpace some of the stock market investments. But if I want something in my personal collection and like something like first edition base, and I see like a first edition Nido King selling for $600, I'm thinking, you know what? I think this is way too low. This card in 1, 2, 3 years, we may never see this card at $600 again. So that's kind of where I'm at, like on my collecting, if that makes sense to you.
Sure. Yeah. And growing up in that era, I mean, how old are you?
31. 32.
Jeez, I'm old. 36.
What are you?
Yeah, I'm 36. Super old, man.
That's not much different.
I got.
I mean, it was a lot different in '99, but it's not as much different now.
So, like, when I said I was opening that all up, like, I actually was. I opened a lot of that base set, a lot of jungle. I used to ride my bike and just, I mean, and go to the local card shop. I actually watched my friend pull open a Charizard out of a base pack in front of me in that same little shop. But you know, I sold my binder when I was a kid for $117. I still remember how much I sold it for. But like, I've always been someone where I never collected the whole set of anything. Like I don't want all of really any base jungle fossil, even growing up. Like I'd much rather have, at that time, dude, how many Eevees and like Jigglypuffs from jungle that I had just through all the different cards. Like I had a million of them because I love that card.
Yeah, you put them in the binders and there's like 10 cards packed in one binder sleeve.
Oh yeah, but I would fill whole binders full of them too. I just loved it that much. But that's what I'm doing now. Like I get stuff that like I like. It could be all errors. If I find like a specific species, and I'll definitely, I don't listen to Dan when it says I don't buy plastic, because I do. Because sometimes, I mean, I don't know if you want, I don't think you get 10s, right? You're not really a 10 guy. You're more.
I definitely do it in modern, I do. But so basically, like that's where the pop reports come in. I really base a lot of the pop report. So like if, you know, like let's just like a random card, like let's say it's like there's 100 10s and there's only 300 9s. And I'll go search through the raw copies and there's like none that I would consider grading a 9 or a 10. But then the 10 selling for $1,000, but the 9's only selling for 100. To me, that just seems off. It's like it's not that much harder to grade a 10. There's not that much more of a pop or a disparity from 10 to 9. And so I'm thinking, well, 100 seems undervalued for a 9, or 10's overvalued. So in my mind, it's like, well, I don't know which is which, but in my mind, I'd rather go for the 9 because it has more upside, in my opinion. But other times, if there's 10s and like Super Modern, Sun and Moon XY, or a Sun and Moon and Sword and Shield, and I can buy it for $40 or $50, why not? Like, why waste the time to try to source a card, grade it, take that chance of a grader having a bad day that day and giving your 10 and 9 and having to do it again? Like, if I can buy a 10 for $40, $50, and I believe in it, like you said, for the future, I'll just buy a 10.
What's a low pop to you?
Again, I think it's changing. In the past, I would say like anything under, talking for I guess anything, or just like a 10 or a 9.
It doesn't matter, because I mean,
I would say under 400.
Because like trophy cards, like it's not fair, because some of them, isn't there only going to be like 6 or something? I don't know how all the trophy cards work. I'm part of my ignorance. I'm not really a trophy card collector, but like if you have number 1 in the world cards, the trophy cards, like don't you get one of those for each like age league or something like that? Is that how it works? So
yeah, and then then they started making it for the video games too. So I don't know exactly how many are out there, but even like the World's promos where they're not even numbered, like even some of the ones that aren't even, they weren't like a quarterfinalist, semifinalist, even some of those are like, some of them don't even have 10s. Like they have 0 10s and they have like a couple 9s. So yeah, I mean, I'm not like on that level like Jake would be, but I would say like for a set card, like 300-400 or below is pretty low pop.
So when you get something like this, that's like 50, I think is the pop.
It's a nice card, man.
Gengar
EX.
And I mean, what kind of value would you attribute to something like that? That's less than. I think it was 53 for the unlimited. I actually have a first edition and an unlimited version of this now.
Well, I mean, here, a perfect example of like how crazy that is now, because I'm sure you're gonna tell me how much that's worth, but like those I see Pokemon Gym Hero in the chat saying that Alex has been pumping XY. Now I'm gonna do it again, but like
you've been working, man.
Those Team Magma Groudon and Team Aqua Kyogre cards from Double Crisis, those are like around 50 pop, and those are like multiple thousands for a 10. And so I'm sure that card is not multiple thousands, and so it just what I'm saying, you just don't know. It varies from card to card, species to species.
Well, this is why I say pop report doesn't matter, because I've graded some of the Japanese full arts from XY that you're talking about, because they're absolutely, 1, very rare, 2, awesome cards. And I think the Latios that I had was, at the time when I think it was like pop 36. Dude, I couldn't sell it, for like over $500.
Well, this is going to be where like you're going to have to. I have absolutely no leg to stand on. I don't know what I'm talking about, but is it different between Japanese and English? Like, are English cards like more sought after for their pop reports, for their condition rarity?
The reason why I brought that up specifically is because in terms of condition rarity, the XY full art secrets in Japanese were actually pretty shit quality too. It's not just the English in that case, because typically people would look at you and say, oh, it's Japanese, it's pretty much an automatic 10. That's simple. It's not the case with the XY full arts. A lot of them actually came in pretty shitty quality, just like the English side, which is actually kind of surprising that era had it, but it's true.
I mean, so what? So do you have cards that you like buy and keep for your collection that you're not selling?
Yeah. You want me to pull up the case?
Yeah. What metrics do you look at? If not pop, if not like, what do you look for?
I already told you, man. I appeal.
That's it. I appeal popular species.
Yeah.
Popular Pokemon.
That's all you need.
Okay.
What's like the number 1 like graded Pokemon of all time, and what art is it? If you had to take a guess.
Charizard.
It's gonna be a Charizard, right?
Yeah.
And it's gonna be based at Charizard, right? When and why? Because they had.
I don't know. It's getting close now. I'm telling you, it's getting close.
To what?
Some of these newer Charizards.
We have base set 2.
Oh, you mean like the artwork in general?
How many times it has to be reprinted?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean,
no brainer.
The evolutions, how many of those are out there?
Yeah,
I mean,
celebration.
it's the same art.
It's not even close if you're counting all those.
Okay. And how are they doing?
That's one example though, right?
Okay, if there's a will, there's a. I mean, what do you want? I mean, I just gave you an example. You asked me for one, but that's.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to species, but I just picked this up.
So what do you think makes like nice 10 too? Wow.
Yeah, it's the 15th anniversary.
And it's got the graded guard on it, so I'm guessing that's the PC there, right?
Actually, I traded for this with it on it. I probably wouldn't have put it on, and it's actually pretty darn tough to get off because I don't like the pink with it. But it's like whatever, it's on there. I'm not gonna if I sit there and try to like pull it off too hard, then
Yeah, people need to be better about that. Like pink obviously goes with the fairy types. Obviously.
Like I don't know what color would you put on this? Black?
Yellow.
Yellow?
Maybe black. Maybe black.
I think the black would make it like pop a little bit more, but I'm wrong.
Yeah, you're
Chat,
right.
Chat, what do you think?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Alex and Ray, do you have any cards or boxes that you plan on holding and not selling? I did, and they already all got sold. So I had old pictures. I'm trying to I'm like revamping my Instagram, so I don't have any pictures on there now. But yeah, I mean, I used to have every box from XY base all the way through Sword and Shield. So every XY, every Sun and Moon, then every Sword and Shield up to when I sold, and then I had every box from base through Gym Challenge in first edition, except base set that was unlimited, and base 2 doesn't have a first edition. So those were all boxes in my collection. Never planned on selling one time, ever. You know, when the base set box went from 2,000 to 4,000, didn't even phase me. When they kept going up, it started to phase me, and then eventually it was so much money I had to sell. But yeah, I mean, now. I'm starting to build my box collection again one by one as I buy cases. I keep one of every box, except Evolving Skies, but it's screwed up on. I might have to end up buying one of those if they don't reprint it. But other than that, I mean, that's kind of it. I don't really have any high dollar boxes anymore, like I used to. So
well, I mean, it's like the great Mike Tyson said: everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah, pretty much. Cards too. Yeah. Well, no, I'm not going to say I don't have any that I would never plan on selling. Again, anything gets the right price, I would sell anything. You got it.
I got it all. Thanks, Head Pokemon in the chat for the shout out. And
would you agree with that, Ray? Like, if anything gets the right price, you'd sell it. Is that the curse of not being ultra wealthy?
Yeah. Of course. You would like to think the opposite, but probably, of course, right? And do you want me to answer? Do I have any things that I'm planning on holding and not selling? I can tell you what I'm holding right now, and I actually pulled off eBay. I have one box of Tag All Stars left, and kind of set that to the side. I think that's at $600 or $700 now on eBay. It's a great special Japanese set, and also Dream League. I had it up for $500 on eBay, and I was like, this is too cheap right now. Dream League is going nuts, and I pulled it back off.
There you go. Jeremy, what do you think about Solgaleo Lunala GX75 from Cosmic Eclipse with all these Lilies cards rising? Holding any of them?
You want to answer? You want my thoughts?
Yeah, you can go first.
It hurts a little bit because I had a lot of these cards. I sold through a lot of these cards. Now, once again, I had a lot of the Japanese. I mean, in this case, I had English and Japanese, but at one point I was holding, I think I said it earlier in the chat, 12 of the Lilies from Dream League, which I no longer have.
Hurts my soul.
Yeah, I sold them. I can tell you, I mean, I sold them all for $220 for a PSA 10, and they're at, I think, $1,200 now.
That's nice. Well, hey, I mean, I would have never held it this long anyway, but I sold the Latios, whatever, tag team alt art card for near mint price back in the day because I pulled it out of a pack and it wasn't gradable as a 10 in my opinion. So I looked at what 9s were going for and said, well, this isn't even worth grading. I'll sell it for near mint.
Well, there's really like something important out of us discussing it. When you look at this question, you have to now look at like what you have and say, what does that next? And this is why it's inherently important for you to buy Now I went overboard and I bought 200 of those cards, right? Like ridiculous. That's so stupid. However, find that play that you have confidence in, or you may not, and you just maybe have some hope in, and buy a lot. Because as you sell through them, you hope that you may have some left over for if it does pop. It may not.
Yeah, good point. Let's see. Raymond TV. Alex, I've asked this before, but I guess for everybody, thoughts on the 6-pack booster bundles. I know they are very new. I'm very bullish on them simply for the lower cost liquidity aspect. So for me, I actually was buying into pre-release kits and then building battle kits, and they didn't really go as well as I wanted them to. I mean, I haven't lost on them. I mean, they've still moved since I bought them, but they're basically just kind of moving with the sets.
Which ones though? Which ones?
What?
Which ones?
I'm going back all the way to Fates Collide, and then like going into some of the Sun and Moon sets. But like Sword and Shield, it's like they're starting to move. But again, I'm out of all of them now. And then I started buying in Sword and Shield again, and they're just like not doing much at all. And I think what happened was no one really cares about the stamp cards anymore. I mean, unless it's like a super popular species like Charizard, but even the Charizard card, I ended up grading one of those from Vivid Voltage, and in a 10, it wasn't even worth, like, I think at the time it wasn't even $100. It might be more now.
No,
but
it's about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like I just kind of gave up on it because in my mind I'm like, well, the booster boxes are still having like a better percent rise. It's still like a better product to buy. It's not that those products won't rise. It's just that I don't think they're going to rise as much as like a booster box will. So yeah, I mean, if that's like more in your price range and you don't have enough to get into the booster boxes, I get it. It still should rise like steel product rises. I still am bullish on steel product over time, but as far as like the pre-release kits, the 6-pack booster bundles, I just don't think it's like the thing that you like if you were going to pick a product, I don't think that'd be the product to pick. If it's the affordable one you can afford, it's not the worst option.
Yeah, look at the things that there's going to have some collectability behind it, guys, as well as some sort of guarantee. That's why booster boxes always do pretty darn well, because I guess there is pretty much guaranteed hits within booster boxes. You can't say it, but there is. You're going to get the 12
within a
hits.
range. I mean, I think there's definitely a guaranteed within a range. Like
yeah, and that's why they do well.
Guarantee, but there is.
That's why they do well. Does that happen with those 6-pack booster boxes? I don't think so, or booster bundles. But Alex, you were in on Vivid Voltage building battle kits, huh?
Yeah.
Did you go pretty heavy on those?
No case.
No. Okay.
No. Why? What are they at?
I mean, I think they're probably destroyed right now compared to probably what I was paying for them at the time. I'll still be bullish on it. I don't care. I think it's probably the best pre-release set that's ever released. I mean, you have Charizard, Lugia, Snorlax, and Donphan. I mean, who's Donphan? But
I started out when Sword and Shield. I started buying just a case of each one, and then I just kind of like when I saw like the Sword and Shield and Rebel Clash boxes move the way they did, and the kits not really do well. I'm just like, okay. I just kind of at that point, and then when I saw the prices of like the Charizard and the Lugia and those cards like graded, not doing well, I'm just like, well, clearly the value isn't in the pre-release cards. I'm like, so it's just in the packs, and so the booster boxes are gonna. If the packs rise, it rises the whole set. Well, the booster box is still gonna hold a premium over like a build and battle kit premium, and so that's kind of where I stepped away from. I don't do that anymore.
I will say it duped me. That got me too, but even now the team up Charizard is finally from the pre-release is starting to come around and be pretty. But team up is also nuts.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like I think if you compare, the rise of what those kits go, as they age, I just feel like the booster box is still outpacing them.
No,
and it doesn't make sense. It's like people care so much about like all the exclusive promos, but they're just not too wild about the pre-release promos. And I don't know why.
I think one for a while kind of set it apart, and that would have been the Evolutions Charizard.
Yep.
I think that kind of set the tone, and people thought it was going to be like that, and then it didn't happen. I mean, I did. So I don't know. I love that charger. I'm really
But that's the great part. It's kind of like you said about like buying all those singles. It's like that's the great part about this hobby, at least right now. It might not be like this forever, but it's like, you know, when I talk about like I've made a lot of mistakes, but I've never really lost any amounts of big money. Because yeah, like technically you could say I made a mistake by thinking these were like the next big product and buying all these pre-release kits, but at the same time it's like, well, they still went up in price with the sets, you know, just not relatively, and I was still able to get out with my money, you know. So it's been a very forgiving hobby up till now.
By the way, it's also intelligent sometimes to take a loss. Just know that.
Yep. If you need to free up the capital,
Yep.
can't be afraid. You cannot be afraid to do that.
Can't win every time.
Let's see what we got. I'm trying to work my way down the chat, see what anyone's saying. I think a lot of people are just going back and forth at each other.
I haven't even been paying too much to the chat. Sorry, guys.
Pokemon Dentist. Come on, Ray. Tell us. Tell us which card you bought 200 of.
Can I get a free root canal?
That's it. That'll break you even.
Damn, Pokemon Dentist, huh? You know, within Pokeflips now, isn't there? Was it your lives or was it Pokeflips where they have the accountant, the Poke accountant guy, the Pokemon accountant? I think his name is.
You mean like live on like the stream?
Yeah, his name was like
Pokemon.
His name was Pokemon accountant. So we're getting like all the different, you know, the jobs out here. We don't need to go outside the community pretty soon.
I'm telling you, that's like the funniest thing too. When I get those comments, I literally got like 3 or 4 of them on my most recent video I posted about, oh, it's a child's card game. You know, it's stupid that even people think about it in terms of money. It's just like we have dentists and accountants and all these different, you know, professions in here buying this stuff. It's no longer a child's card game alone.
There's a SDC has a good question about China.
What did we already discuss 151?
No. Well, we didn't discuss 151. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Is China in the game changing everything?
China.
First of all, China.
China.
I mean, kind of.
Yeah.
Right?
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Japanese, besides, you know, I think the market in China and in Japan is also kind of losing its mind, but China is definitely having an impact. I mean, I have GSP enabled on my eBay, guys, and there's a ton of it going to, you know, China and actually Japan. And there's a talk about pop reports. I think there's a large population in China.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I've really been having to like play that game with myself. Like I like anything like under 300-400, I felt like was a pretty low pop to where, you know, there's a lot of people, there's always a certain a portion of people that have these cards in their permanent collections. And there's always going to be a certain portion that are going to be in the market because people are wanting to realize their profits, or they just need, you know, they want to sell it for whatever financial reason they have. And then I just feel like, you know, there's only a certain amount of people that need to want that card for the price to go up, right? To raise the market cap. And I always felt that once you started getting the high hundreds, thousands, it was a lot harder to find enough, you know, people to move into that card. But now with how large the market's growing and we're seeing these multiple, you know, 4-figure, now into 5-figure cards getting graded. I mean, some of those Charizards now in Sword and Shield have over 10,000 graded, and they're still like, I think the VMAX Charizard's over 10,000 pop, and it's still $100. That would never have been a thing ever in history. And so now I'm starting to think, well, maybe 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 isn't as low of pop as it used to be. I mean, if there's truly tens and hundreds of millions of people in this hobby eventually, a few thousand cards it's not going to be enough to go around. So,
well, this is why I use the example, like not every when you're doing like Collecticon and you're selling your $50 to $250 cards, like not every card has to be like that $1,000 home runner. You know, I mean, some people like to just sit their $50 slab, you know, which is totally cool, on their desk, and that's the one they want to show off. I mean, it doesn't have to be super expensive, and you can still make money on a $50 slab.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can definitely make money. I don't know. I guess I just I mean, I hate talking like, like long term, but it's just like when you're looking at long term, it's just like when a card does have 10,000, 15,000 pop, I just feel like it can have a lot easier downward trajectory.
Of course.
If like the popularity in Pokemon fades, or if that card kind of gets more out of the spotlight,
Dude, I don't have one Moonbreon. I haven't bought one Moonbreon, and I don't want a Moonbreon. I just, if you were to ask me from EV Heroes, which card I think actually, in my opinion, should be performing the best, would be actually the Glaceon VMAX. I don't know if you know what card I'm talking about, but the card is absolutely phenomenal. The art has like Pikachu on it. I think it has an Eevee as well and a Meryl, but it's just fantastic artwork.
What card?
The Glaceon VMAX.
The promo?
Glaceon. No, that's Espeon is the promo that comes in the gym box. The Glaceon VMAX is the one where he's like on the lake and there's a Pikachu there and stuff. And to me, that's the best card in EV Heroes.
Okay.
Oh, that and the Rayquaza VMAX too, but yeah.
I have a bunch of people asking, so I'm just going to address it. All right. Nomics, thoughts on the collector interview. Did you actually know what he means? All right, guys. So I'm sure I lost a subscriber and a fan for life with that, but so yeah, there's a guy, he didn't want me to reveal his name. He's always in the chat, and he's been messaging me a lot, wanting to get on the channel. I tried to have him on a couple times, and then finally tonight he said he had time. One, he was late for the live, and then two, when he got on, he didn't have a camera. Wouldn't reveal his name, wouldn't reveal his face. It already made for kind of a bad interview. People don't want to see that. I mean, I had multiple, this chat was kind of blowing up saying like, what's he, this is stupid or whatever. And so, and then the conversation was just kind of taking some weird directions. And so that's why I cut that off. But yeah, I mean, as far as some of the things he was saying, like, yeah, there were some good points getting made. I was really thinking he was going to come at it from more of like just a hardcore collector perspective that didn't have anything to do with finances or money or investing. Because I do want to hear from someone like that, that because we always hear about it, right? We all hear about these collectors out there that I mean, I think Basic Trainer is one of them. But like
he would be very good to have on, by the way.
Yeah. I've had him on, and like don't care about the money, don't care about all the nuance and all the different plays and games we play in our heads. And literally, like you said, just likes the art, likes the Pokemon, buys it, obviously tries to find the best price and shop around, but isn't worried when it's all going up and down, like, oh, now it's $100, now it's $50, now it's $300, isn't worried about all that, playing the price game. They just are enjoying the hobby. And that's kind of more what I was hoping the conversation would be. And it really wasn't going that way. And I don't know, it wasn't meshing well. And, like I said, people don't like with the no name, no face, I don't know. So that's all that. I just wanted to address that and throw it out there. All right. Let's see what else we got going on. You see any other questions you want me to bring up?
Can y'all dive deeper on why Team Up is booming? You want to take this one first?
It's the same reason any set does, like, I don't know, man. With Team Up, okay, I will tell you why. Because Team Up was way, way, way short printed. It was more short printed than any other set in all of Sun and Moon. It never got a reprint. It has, it introduced tag teams. So if there's been a lot of debate on if people are going to want to ever go back and get the first of things, right? Like, so those were the first tag teams. You could call them alt arts, basically. And so everyone wanted to go back to the beginning, and that's kind of why that set blew up. Now, was there manipulation? Was there buyouts? Possibly, but I'm not going to say there wasn't. But what I am going to say is, anytime any like segment of the market moves, you hear buyouts and you hear manipulation every single time. That's why I'm always the last one to jump on the manipulation and buyout bandwagon. But yeah, there's definitely some buyouts and manipulation going on, with people with large pockets, I'm sure. But at the end of the day, a lot of the move was organic, right? A lot of the move was because, again, first, and it was a good set in Sun and Moon. What's your take on it, Ray?
Um, Latios is obviously a ridiculously sought after card right now. Pretty
What's that?
much, was it $2,500 now at PSA 10, something like that. Then you combine that with another highly popular Pokemon, which is Gengar. There's a hell of a lot of cool Gengar arts in Team Up. Just like Cosmic Eclipse, I mean, those are my probably two favorite Sun and Moon sets, was Team Up and Cosmic Eclipse. For a long time, man, they were down, and people had their opportunity to buy it. I mean, I don't have any myself. I could see why people wouldn't, because back then it just, people weren't looking at them as highly. The people talking on a daily basis weren't looking at, once again, it was printed to oblivion, not a cool set, it's bland, the rainbow rares suck in it, that was always the conversation. And it's true, the rainbow rares do suck in it. I mean, if you look at the Japanese equivalents, they're way better. But the like hit cards that are in Team Up,
and this was not one of the hit cards.
what's that?
The Latios.
I don't understand why.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, like if you went on TCG Player, it was not like one of those. If you sort the cards from highest to lowest, it was not one of like the top 5. I don't think. Like this was not it.
It's funny because like I've always looked at it as like that card's awesome, but I always thought, I mean, a lot of it can be attributed to a little bit of FOMO and a little bit of what's hot right now too, because all art, Alex. I mean, all arts were a thing for a long time, for the past couple years now, right? But all arts actually started in Sun and Moon, and for some reason, those all arts didn't take off until several years after the newer all arts did. And I'm sitting there like, what's going on? Like, all arts have been a thing for a long time now. Like ADP with like the statue, it's been a thing for a long time. Like, what's going on? And yeah,
well, not
they're
only
just now
that,
picking up. Man, I keep moving my camera here.
Oh,
Sorry
you're
about
good.
that.
Not only that, I gotta bring it back to the pop reports, but
Oh, you're killing me. No, I'm just kidding.
when people are going back and like the people who do look at the pop reports, when they're used to collecting Sword and Shield cards, and all they see is thousands upon thousands and 9s and 10s, then they go back and look at these Sun and Moon cards and Pokemon Gym Hero XY, right? And they go back and look at these cards and they see 4, 5, 6, 7, 800 on the pops. It's a lot different, and it feels a lot more rare to them, and so it almost makes sense. They're like, well, hey, Moonbryon, hey, all these other cards are going in the like $1,000, $500, $800. Like, of course, this card's worth that much. It's only this much pop, and so it's almost like convincing yourself that it's worth more because of that. And I think that's playing a part in it too.
I mean, the all arts that are in Sun and Moon, some of them are just absolutely ridiculous. I think they blow some of the Sword and Shield ones out of the water. Dude, the Magikarp Wailord all art is just so good. Yeah, I think the like the Raichu, actually, is it the Raichu and Raichu one where he's like on the surfboard or something like that? Like there's some of them are just so good, but like people just didn't talk about them as being alt arts for a long time, even though they were alt arts. It was so strange to me.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to kind of what you were saying. Like, there's things like that right now. Like in the hobby right now, there are cards in sets right now that are absolute sleepers, and you could be buying right now that eventually they're going to rise up and be like a main player in that set. And that's the hardest thing to do, is get ahead of it. And it's the riskiest, right? It's speculation. You're trying to like get ahead of the play. But when you get it right, this is why, someone like Jake loves it so much. When you do get those speculations right, those are the most gains you're ever going to make, right? You're never going to see more like a sealed product or a main Pokemon, a main play. Those ones that you get right on the speculations, you'll make exponential, 10x, 15x sometimes when you get those plays right. But the problem is, it's like, no one knows when it's coming. How do you know which ones are going to take off? How do you know when it's going to happen? And how many do you have to get wrong before you get one right?
Well, and it's also the belief and trust over time too. Like I was saying earlier, like I bought some of these cards that are nuts right now, right? But I had to wait a long time until it, would have come to fruition for me. But that's why I would give you. I've been saying and giving the advice. Sell into the fire that is the fire right now and buy the ice. But you got to be willing to hold out with that ice, man. It's so much harder because you're just like, you may see a whole bunch of negativity. You may ask someone, "Hey, what do you think of this play?" They're gonna say, it's a 50-cent card. What do you mean it's a $10 card when it actually could be not very long from now a $10 card?
So what's where are you selling mostly at these days? Like eBay?
Yeah, eBay. There, you really. I mean, you could do the whole, I'm gonna do private discords, sell on Reddit, but man, it's starting to become not worth it. People want 14 pictures of a card, and I think it was Green Shiz that was saying that, and it just pop it up in eBay, let it sit, it'll sell if it's priced right.
About how many, like, so I guess one, about how many items are you keeping listed, on average, and like about how much are you moving through a month?
I can tell you what I'm at right now. I'm not afraid. I've actually done pretty well in the past like month and a half. I don't know, something's like kicked off. I've actually been hearing that from others too, that they started to really start kicking a little bit of butt in terms of selling. So,
well, I was gonna like make a put this in one of my videos, but if anyone out there, if you just go click, I mean, Dan actually made a great video showing like when you can search eBay's like sales history when you like type in Pokemon or whatever, and you can see the sales are just steady. But also, if you go to Google Trends, and when you type in Pokemon, and then you also type in Pokemon investing, and you stretch it all the way out till 99, you'll see the giant uptick in 2019, 2020. But it's not. It's like right now, it's still super popular. Those search terms on Google, Pokemon and Pokemon investing, they're just like as high as they've ever been. I mean, it's pretty crazy. The popularity and like the interest is still just pouring in. Could be a lot because of China, but it's definitely not going anywhere right now.
China.
So
to give you an idea of how kind of crazy it's been between May 7th and June 6th, I'll just give you my traffic report on eBay.
All right.
Now,
you want to share your screen?
I am no whale. No, I don't want to share my screen. But my percentage sold versus a prior time period is up 668%. Which is kind of insane.
Year over year, or is that month?
That would be from the prior time period, which I believe is it looks like they're doing it by, I think it's over a month.
Wow.
I mean, that's 123 items sold from May 7th to June 6th. So it's not a ton, right? I'm not huge, but it's still, that's the quantity sold, the exact number.
So that's up a lot. So I guess what's your average? You just sell like
my conversion rate. Probably. Now realize too, I would say in the past month and a half too, I've really started to push more onto it. So that's obviously helping the number too.
Well, what's how many items do you have listed?
Give me a second.
Because this gives everyone like I talk about it like a lot in my videos. It's like I try to make this talking and like the content for like the everyday person, because I think a lot of people need to hear this stuff. How many items are you listing? You have listed, and then how many of those are selling? Per month, per year. Like to give you an idea of like what you need to do if you want to be successful. Buying and selling Pokemon. So
some few hints, and this is what I've been doing over the past month to make it more successful. One, to answer your question, I have 186 unique items with a total quantity of 303 right now on eBay.
And you sold 100 and what?
23 over the past month. So
you sold what, like
a third of my inventory in the past month.
In a month.
What I have now. So I probably would have had a little bit more. But
so you had like 400. That's still amazing. So you sell a quarter of your inventory in 1 month.
Yeah, it's doing pretty good. And
that's obviously not normal, right?
I know, and I don't list like doubles. Like if I look into my,
you better watch out. You might get that full-time job in this before long.
For example, I only have one of each item at a time, but I still have Unagawa. Just as soon as one sells, another one goes up behind it. I don't like competing against myself. So chat, like you don't want to put this on, your eBay to say which one's which. Then you get people say, well, you got multiple. Can you give me a deal on one? Trust me, you're going to get hit up with a whole bunch of deals anyhow. Just put just one up. Dan, typically, if he gets like 10 of these, he likes to like take away the code so he can just sell, you're getting a 10.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
Rusty
like
does
to,
the same thing.
yeah, I don't like to do that. I'd rather I like to keep, I don't have that large of an inventory yet where I have to do that, I should say.
Yeah, and the problem with that too is like, especially with like how people are with like the new PSA, the new labels. Like if you go back to like the 2 millions, it's got like the old case, and then also how weird people are about getting like a 4 cert, 5 cert, 6 cert. It's just like, you can definitely run into trouble if you have a card, listed and then you send it to them. It's an old PSA case or something. People will get upset. So, I'd rather just show them the whole card, exactly what they're getting.
Sure. No, I understand. What were some other questions that you had about the eBay? The other thing I would say is this. One thing I've been cognizant of and trying to really do, even if I have to break it up, is Dan always preaches, listing every single day. I'm currently scheduled until Friday for 10 a day. So
wait, say that one more time.
So to try to list daily is the ultimate goal, right? He does like 10 a day on listing. So I've tried to, emulate that process, and I'm scheduled until Fridays because you can schedule in advance your listings to go live. Okay. So I've scheduled 10 a day to go up until, basically Friday. I got to get on it, and I don't know if I can because I'm going to Disney tomorrow. So I might be lagging a little bit on my 10 a day. But yeah, that's another, it helps.
And so is eBay the same method that you take in person, like that $50 to $300 range?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't get in. You don't like. So a very small portion of your inventory is like above 300. Then
I think it was Z that said on one of his channels, and I agree with him.
It was. I know exactly what you're gonna say.
When you break above that $1,000 range,
yep,
you start really limiting that customer base. So you got to be careful with, and obviously everybody's different. Like some of the bigger sellers can do that, and that can be their main focus is those, $1,000 to $5,000 cards. That's what they want to sell to, and that's what they're known for. But like to me, I got to work up to that point, man. I don't just get that recognition, I'm not Pokemon Radar, which you had on a couple of weeks ago, and big baller status, flying all over the United States, meeting Steve Aoki and stuff. I don't have that. I don't have that yet.
Not many do.
Yeah.
Sam Phone. Nomics, what plays are you making on singles in Scarlet and Violet, if any? You're gonna have to talk to that guy, Ray, right there on plays. I'm not much of a single card play on Ultra Modern. It's in my mind, it's like a big race to the bottom, or maybe a few of the cards are really hard to pull, hard to grade, and they skyrocket. I don't really play those games. Ray might know more than me.
Yeah, I don't love the race to the bottom myself, dude. Like that's not like it's funny I say that because I actually sent to PSA today all those Nagabai EVs. It's going to be a race to the bottom with those, and I recognize it, and I actually thought to myself, do I want to keep these promo packs and just hold them around for a while and see what they do, or do I want to, participate in this race and see what happens? I ultimately chose let's race to the bottom, and then when they get cheaper a little bit from now, I'll pick them up again. But
the only thing I've bought for Scarlet and Violet and Paldea is booster boxes. Someone had I can't remember which one, if it was Paldea Evolved or base, but one of them was $599.99 for a case, another one was $605 for a case. And so I bought both of those. So one of them was base set, one of them was Paldea Evolve. They were both, $600, $605. Those are the only things I bought for Scarlet and Violet so far.
I mean, I can give the easiest answer in the world, and you'll 100% agree with me, because there's no way, Alex, there's no way you don't like the card. Okay. Easiest thing in the world. That Magikarp with him like dreaming of Gyarados. Have you seen it?
For Paldea?
It is it in Paldea, or is it going to be yeah, I think it's in Paldea. Yeah. Look it up really fast.
No, I haven't looked at it yet.
Trust you'll smile when you see the card. It's amazing, especially when you see he's like dreaming of Gyarados in the background. Just go ahead, take a second to look at the card. I'll talk.
Is that the 200 card play? Is that the next one?
No, but I don't think that would be a bad one. I mean, if we're having to have a gun to our head, that's definitely been one that I've been thinking about because one, dude,
is it going to be like a top rarity?
Pretty sure. I forget. I have not kept up on the newest set in terms of how the rarities break down, but
yeah, I haven't looked at Paldea yet.
I'm pretty sure the pull rate's going to be tougher on that. But even if it isn't, we're going back to popular species, right? So the next advice would be is when do you actually buy that? Let Paldea come out, give it 6 months to 8 months to cool down, let everybody open up some boxes, then go in on what you're buying.
What do you think of actually, this is a great question actually, because I'll throw it to you again. What do you think about base set Scarlet and Violet? At what point do you start to look at possibly making plays? Because I have been following it, and it does seem like a lot of the cards are bottoming. Like they've stopped having their massive declines, and a lot of them are starting to, some are still like drifting lower, but some are starting to plateau. Like we've seen a lot of the pre-release and like the release, kind of fever wear off. And I have been starting to notice that. So I was just anxious, when like do you see, or when do you start to try to move into them?
Once again, I mean, you just answered your own question, dude. I mean, do I really need to sit here and explicitly tell you what you
Now is the time.
I mean, it may come down just a little bit more because people kind of like battle styles. I think you always hear like, base sets are kind of lame, yada, yada, yada. But even then, I don't think Scarlet Violet was terrible. I don't think it was people always equivalent to bad sets to Steam Siege. I don't think it was a Steam Siege level set by any stretch. I think it'll be fine in the future. But if you're looking at it, if you're checking the analytics on a daily basis to see where it's at, and you're saying, Rudy always talks about it, like, is the risk now getting so low to where it's like, okay, I might as well just buy this because, you're pretty much at the floor,
I've already said it. I honestly think it might like outperform things like Darkness Ablaze and some of those earlier sets. I mean, I know it was the absolute most hated for a while, but I mean, it has Altarts. Those other sets don't. And
probably
people being completionists and you just want an altar. I mean, I think it could propel it enough to. I mean, it's never going to be like one of the main sets, but it might beat the other ones to $200 a box.
Well, exactly. Not everything has to be that home run, especially if you're diversifying like what you do. You say you buy a little bit of every set, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then all right, so man, with this set, this sucks. I only made 150% on it rather than 200%.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing. It's just like people will say, well, if that's the case, why don't you just put it all into the good sets? It's like, you don't always know. Like, yeah, I get it, Evolving Skies, you kind of knew, but it's like, you don't always know. I mean, you could go back, look at like the other generations, look at XY, look at Sun and Moon. You didn't necessarily know that these sets were going to do that. You didn't know that. Like, how would you know that, Furious Fist and Ancient Origins and those were going to be $1,000 boxes or $700, $900 boxes? How did you know that, some of the top Sun and Moon sets were going to be the top sets? Like, in my mind, I thought since Burning Shadows had the Charizard, even though it was a bad set, it was going to be one of the top sets. It's nowhere near, right? It's not seen any of those price rises. Like, Cosmic Eclipse, Unbroken Bonds, both have Charizards. They're not the top set. So you don't always know. So it just makes sense to diversify.
The interesting thing is I have like a plus and a minus for that. Like, I always talked down and hated Evolutions, but Evolutions is the one that went absolutely nuts. I always propped up Cosmic Eclipse, but it took a long time to get to the point where Cosmic Eclipse became kind of crazy. So you just never know. However, Burning Shadows is interesting because there's a similar set to me that is like Burning Shadows that's kind of taking the same path, and that's Champion's Path. Champion's Path is awful, just like Burning Shadows is awful as a set. However, Champion's Path has Charizards, but it's doing the exact same thing where it's like just kind of stagnating. It's a boat without like a paddle and just sits there, and people are like, yeah, it has the Charizard in it, but is it really worth investing into, right?
All right, so right now, you got to pick one. Champion's Path, Hidden Fates.
It's Hidden Fates.
So I mean, because let's see, you can't quite get to Champion's Path for one Hidden Fates. So where does it really work out? I'm trying to think if like you take it out like as far as before you get an equal number, but like so if you could put the same amount of money in the Champion's Path and in Hidden Fates, you think Hidden Fates is going to perform better, or do you think? I mean, obviously it's probably always going to be a more expensive set.
Hidden Fates. It's Hidden Fates.
Hidden Fates. Yeah, because they both had a reprint.
Yeah.
They both have a lot of product.
Because, dude, it's just, we've talked about a lot today about how sometimes how things could be nonsensical go crazy, right? So, sure, Champion's Path could go nuts out of nowhere, but history has shown we've seen shitty sets with the Charizard in it do nothing, like Burning Shadows. It's because that's not a good set. He's wanting to talk. Is this why we're going into this?
I saw multiple Hidden Fates questions, so I had to bring it up. I mean, I'm the same way. I mean, I think Hidden Fates is maybe finally primed. Here's the thing: is you cannot discount people talking about it. Like that's the first thing that needs to go off in your head. If you see multiple different channels bring up Hidden Fates, that needs to click and say, okay, the eyes of the market are now going to be upon this. How much product is realistically still left in the market to not let that rise? Because what's going to happen is, even if people, like you said, how you have all those cards sitting there and you list one at a time, even if people are sitting on these mountains of inventory that everyone supposedly has, as their, kind of circuit breaker sells out, like where they have a certain amount listed, it sells out, and then they have more to list, they go look at what it's going for, they're going to list it at market. And so if things start selling out and then the stores with a lot still have, they're going to look and say, oh, well, now it's 190, so I'm going to list it at 190. Those cases sell out. Oh, well, now it's 210. I'm going to list it at 210. And so it just kind of moves like that. I've seen it happen with when I was thinking about doing my box break, not to bring up box break, everyone. When I was looking at Unified Minds, Cosmic Eclipse, and things like that, I was literally following some of them, and then kept rising. They kept selling, and I'd log on eBay one day, and that box is no longer $450. Now it's $480 at the lowest, and it's the same seller. Like the same seller rose his price $30 because he saw other ones selling. He's just trying to stay ahead of what the market's selling at, and so that's what stores will do. They're not just gonna keep things under market just when the market's moving. And so, yeah, Hidden Fates can move faster than you think, even though it may have a lot of supply left.
I don't know when it will be when Hidden Fates finally starts to take off again. I don't know if it will quite have the effect of like what's going on right now with some of the Japanese sets, or even like with Cosmic Eclipse and Team Up, only because I do think that there is a lot of it out there. And I don't really think that matters as much anyhow, because if there's people who are after it, they're after it. But I do think with one of the last few print waves that it has, I think it went into a lot of hands for people who are kind of willing to hold, if that makes sense. Because you really, I followed Hidden Fates for a little bit now on TCG Player. There has not been a lot of sell-through for it. In fact, I mean, I can check it right now because it's been a while. I might as well check into it. But as much as it is, I love the set. But
what are you talking about? You're talking about the sell-through of Hidden Fates, the ETBs?
Yeah, I mean, hold on one second. Sorry, I'm pulling it up right now.
Like since the reprint, you're saying?
I mean, just daily, dude. I mean, there's
like now. I mean, in the beginning they were like selling out.
Yeah. Guess how many sold today? Just take a guess. Off the top of your head.
Like on what? On one site? Like a TCG Player?
TCG Player, because you can actually see the daily sales.
Five.
0 sold today.
Interesting.
Guess how many sold yesterday?
Well, here. What's the price?
Last sale price yesterday, $174.99.
Okay, I was gonna say because sometimes things won't sell because one site has them lower than the other, but I think that's pretty much what eBay's going for, right?
But
If I had to guess.
either way, if you look at this right now and you look at this data, it's very, very consistent. 2 sales yesterday. On the 3rd, there was 1 sales. On the 2nd, there was 1 sale. On the 1st, there was 1 sale. Dude, not a lot of these hidden fate ETPs right now are moving, and that's okay. That doesn't mean the set's bad. It's just for whatever reason right now it's just not on the forefront, and it's just not moving. And I think the people who have them, like myself, I don't think I have a substantial position in hidden fates, but I got quite a few ETBs and some tins, but I'm not nowhere interested in moving those things until they're at a certain price point. And I think that's the way a lot of people are right now with that.
Yeah.
Just not a. I don't think that it's strange. There's just not a lot of as much as it's a cool set. It's just not a lot of play on it right now.
I mean, I think we all know. I think we're all kind of saying what we think. I mean, I think it's the next. It's probably one of the next ones to go.
No,
Hidden Fate. Let's all here. We're pumping Hidden Fates. I'm just gonna come out and say it. I am pumping Hidden Fates right now with my massive positions that I don't have.
I wasn't trying to be derogatory to the future landscape of Hidden Fates. Let me put it that way. It's just interesting to see that it's not in the forefront, and at any moment to capture the other side of that. You know, there is only 33 listings on TCG Player. Now, I don't know what that breakdown is because some people could have actually 15 boxes of those 33 lists, because we could be talking like 200 total ETBs, which at the end of the day is like nothing.
Right. So here, let me ask you, before we end here, I ask a couple more questions. Hey guys, any other questions? We go on for about 2 hours and 20 minutes. Probably got a little bit longer in us. What do you think, Ray?
Sure.
I have a question for you. So with your inventory, I mean, taking all the different plays that you play, how much of it is kind of stagnant inventory? Do you have anything that you're just kind of sitting on because the prices collapse and it's just not worth selling? Or do you do what you said and just kind of eat it, take the losses, get out, and move into something else? Like, do you have a lot of inventory on the sidelines that isn't even listed because it just hasn't got to a point where it's worth selling? Or do you just kind of, wherever the market's at, when you get it, you sell it?
And the most of that I'm down on would actually be non-Pokemon related. Anything Pokemon related that I have, it's like it all has a purpose, right? Like I'm sitting on Hidden Fates. I don't have a ton of it. I have 10 ETBs. Okay, so I don't have a ton of it. But like I don't have a reason nor want to move those right now. It's just not at a point for where I bought it at and where it's at right now. It's just not worth. It's not worth moving. And that's almost anything Pokemon related that I have in my closet. However, the ones that I would say that I made mistakes on that's sitting there that's kind of like stale inventory is I think the word you used. Like I'm sitting on a lot of MetaZoo that probably shouldn't have purchased. Probably went a little bit too hard in the alternate TCGs at one point. Rather than taking that money and putting it into Pokemon, I probably sliced too much of the pie into the alternate TCGs. Now, it's funny because I do have Flesh and Blood, and I love Flesh and Blood. So I'm happy. Whatever's in there right now, I'm happy with. I'm not.
You have to be crushing it with that.
I don't have alpha. I don't have any of the alpha stuff, unfortunately. And I'm starting to come around on some of it to where it's doing well again. It took a while, dude. Flesh and Blood took a beating for a long time, and it's coming around. But MetaZoo.
So what?
I don't know when it comes around.
what all are you into? Pretty much everything.
Yeah, I have Magic. I have Flesh and Blood. I have MetaZoo. I have Pokemon.
Are you still buying these things? Like in the last year, have you bought more Magic? Have you bought more MetaZoo?
Yes, I've bought MetaZoo. I mean, the last time I would have purchased anything with MetaZoo, would have been like for a promo, probably a Rudy promo. I think it was the Rudy promo that I bought. But no, and I'll buy a box from Dan, to support him if he's doing like a box break or something. But and Basic's a player, and
Yeah.
he's also my friend, so I try to support him too. So like if he needs, I hope he knows if he watches this still that like if he needs singles or something like that, he can come to me and I just give it to him. I don't care. Like I want him to win. So
Yeah, that'd be cool to see Basic like rise up and win a Metazoo tournament.
But the bigger one that like I don't even want to say I'm bullish on it. I just like it is Flesh and Blood. I just think that Flesh and Blood it reminds me of old Magic in terms of like the Urza block with like the old fantasy type art, and I've always just been a fan. Yeah, the cold foils look fantastic too.
Are you selling any Lost Origins because of the reprint?
No, I mean what I have in Lost Origins is just single packs, and I fully expected Lost Origins to get a reprint. So I had and I any money that I would have put into Lost Origins, I listen, I don't love Lost Origins. Do you like Lost Origins as a set? Are you a fan?
I mean, as a set, I think it's going to be. Well, now I don't know. Like I was going to say, I think it's going to be one of the stronger boxes, but now with the reprint, it's not the greatest. But I know a lot of people love it. I think what people love is the fact that there's only a few hits that people want, and they're very hard to pull in Lost Origin. And so I think people like the idea that you can, get that kind of value out of a pull. I don't know why, honestly, like it had the love affair it had. But I mean, in my mind, I don't understand how like Chilling Reign and Fusion Strike are like not liked as much than Lost Origin has seen us so far above those sets.
Yeah.
As far as me though, I'm not selling. I mean, here's what you got to think about. Like, I've heard from multiple people now that their distributor is going to charge them 120 a box. Mm-hmm. It could go lower, but for me, okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to sell my cases at 153-ish a box. The cases are going so $9.50 a case. Okay, so I'm going to sell my cases. I'm going to eat the shipping and fees, and then I'm going to have to wait and buy back, and it's like for a small, very small amount, it's just not worth it for me. I mean, I already said I haven't really sold anything this year, and so I'm not trying to play like those games. I mean, for all we know, it might not even drop enough to even make much of a margin, and so I'm not playing those games. If I was holding like Evolving Skies and it got mentioned there was going to be a reprint, then I'd sell Evolving Skies, right? That's a no-brainer. But going from 150 to possibly 120 a box, it wouldn't be the end of the world.
Yeah, that's like me and you look at something like that. Not that we're better than anybody else, but that's nothing to move the needle in terms of what we would do in terms of buying and selling it and trying to flip it into a market. And I just don't, sorry for anybody out there who loves Lost Origins or Pokemon Pika if you love Lost Origins. I just don't personally love it as a set. I think the Giratina is cool. I think the Aerodactyl is cool, but I don't think it's a game changer of cards to hold a whole setup.
No, I mean I'm looking right now at TCG Player. I mean, you got the top 5 cards. You have the Rotom, the alternate art Rotom, which is like I don't know how that's ever going to get sought after. And then it jumps down to the Pikachu VMAX, the trainer gallery, and so it jumps out of like the actual main set to get to the 4th most expensive card in the set, and then from there it goes to the Galarian Parasurfer V. It's just like there's just not a lot there.
It's a strange set to me, and they talk about identities of sets. I don't know, man. What I would consider if I were you, Pokemon Pika, if I may offer my sage advice of what I've personally done is
Old card shop, Lost Origin will go 100 to 110 after reprint.
I mean, first of all, it's a good enough of a set. Like I think Alex would agree with me. If it gets low enough, obviously buy it. We're not talking about this isn't a Steam Siege quality set. I just think we're both saying that it's not quite the set that people make it out to be. Whereas I am much, much more bullish on Fusion Strike. I think Fusion Strike is heavily slept on. I think because of partially the scandal that happened with the hits that did not actually have hits, but Fusion Strike to me is a top 3 set and has top tier species Pokemon in it, and it's not even close.
That's some strong words there. Heard it here first. Raise Pump and Fusion Strike.
Go. You know what? You just looked at it at Lost Origin. Look at the hits and Fusion Strike.
What do you think's in that? What do you think's in that cabinet behind him?
Oh, I have. I'll tell you, I have it. But look at the hits. Look how there's like 10 to 15 of them that are all just really, really cool cards. Gengar, Espeon.
We got going from first to all right. So we got the Gengar VMAX. You got the Espeon alt art. You got the Mew alt art. You got the Rainbow Mew. Then you got the Celebi alt art. Inteleon, Genesect, Mew again. Yeah.
Which one? After seeing the hits,
it definitely has more going for it than Lost Origin.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue that one bit.
Yeah, it's just a really, really hard set to pull, dude. It is. It's brutal. Which to me, a hard set just has more going for it for the future. You know, if it's hard to pull, yeah.
I'm trying to follow.
Josh.
What's that?
Josh says the old card shop says nope, and I want to know what he says nope to.
That's why I was trying to follow the chat and see what he said nope to.
I would love to know.
Nostalgianomics got cool trainer Ryan pumping Fusion Strike every video too.
I didn't
know that.
I didn't know it. I actually watched
Dude, Jim Hero, man, you gotta reach out and get Ryan to come on the channel. I've tried to reach out to him before, but at no avail.
Okay, so Josh said Lost Origin is not worse than Fusion or Chilling.
I think it's a bad word, not worse. Like,
I
don't think any of them are bad sets. Like, not as good as is probably a better way to put it.
I have no idea what he means by that sentence. Can you rephrase, Josh?
I mean, dude, I get it. Like, a lot of people are very, very bullish on Lost Origin. I mean, a lot of people. I've always kind of been in the dark on it. I mean, I have my 2 cases. I'm not like going any deeper in it. If it gets real low, like if it really crashes and it gets like, I've told people, if it gets like goes down to like $90 a box, yeah, I'm buying more. Then it becomes one of those obvious plays. It's like, okay. But I mean, if it just goes down to like in the 120s or something, I don't understand it. I just think Lost Origin and Silver Tempest were things were just going so crazy still. And there wasn't enough printed to satisfy the demand, and they got bought out so quick, and that's why the prices went up so fast. But now that they're getting a reprint, I just don't know. I don't see it. Maybe you could argue that people are going to spend their money on Lost Origin because Scarlet Violet base is so lackluster, and now maybe people are just like down on Paldea Evolve because it's one of the first 2 or 3 sets in the era. I don't know.
Well, people just really, really like the Garantina V2 all art, and I haven't seen one in person, so I don't want to flame it or judge it too much. I think it's cool looking. I don't know, and I need to see it in person. I've seen the Aerodactyl though, but I mean,
you said the trainer gallery is the reason.
Okay.
That's the best comeback. Okay.
I mean, well, he can have his opinion. I respect his opinion. But
this is actually a huge point here. I'm so guilty of this. People have to understand Gen 1 is not the only gen with cool Pokemon. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm so drawn to XY is because so many of those sets center around Gen 1 Pokemon. I think that's where my bias comes from. But that's actually a really good point is there are a lot of Pokemon in other eras that are sought after, and there are Pokemon that the kids are growing up with now that they do like, and they might even end up liking more than Gen 1 Pokemon. So that does need to be taken into account.
do you have a child, Alex?
I don't, but I do have friends with young children. I also have a couple of friends that are teachers, and they tell me like Pokemon strong. Like the kids still have it. They still, try to trade the cards at recess or at lunch and stuff. My friend's son, he has binders, and he asked him, like, he finally wanted him to grade his first cards. He wants to send these cards in, and me and his, my friend are looking at him like, yeah, these probably aren't 10s. Like, yeah, I'm just gonna send them anyway because he wants me to, just to experience it. And so the craze is there. I mean, it is still strong no matter what anyone says.
I have a 7-year-old,
Okay.
and I'm fortunate enough to where he's starting to he goes in, I mean, any 7-year-old, he's gonna go in phases. Like, he'll like Mario one week, and then he'll like Pokemon the other, whatever he wants to do. I don't care. But I've sat and I watched like Sun and Moon with him. I've watched the Ultimate Journeys with him on Netflix, like, because he's there, I'm spending some time with him. Like, I get to see all these new aspects that I didn't. And I also made him watch Indigo League. So he's got to watch, mine too.
What do you think?
He won't Indigo League as much, for sure. However, he does love Jason Page's singing. He loves the original Pokemon theme song, and he sings it. So he is a fan. He definitely likes the first few episodes, which I think are fantastic. By the way, some of the new cartoons, man, are pretty legit. So if you ever get a little misogynomics, running around, and you can get him or her into the Master Journeys, it's definitely worth watching. Some of the cartoons are really good now.
Well, I know one thing. The Pokemon Violet was the first game I played since like Ruby Sapphire, Leaf Green, Fire Red time. So like back in Game Boy Advance. First game I've came back and played on the Switch. And I have a appreciation for Scarlet and Violet base because of like I recognize the trainers. I recognize the Pokemon, like the Meridian, and I recognize like all the like different, all the full art trainers. I recognize like the Mabostiff and some of the, Pokemon that were like main in the game. And so I think that has a lot to do with like the collector aspect of playing the games, watching the episodes. So that way the cards mean more than just like, oh, this is the rarest and shiniest in there. This is the one I have to chase after. It's like, well, some of the Pokemon like that I liked from the game, I look up and like, wow, these aren't even anywhere near the top. These are like a couple $1 card. That's kind of crazy. I thought some of these would actually be valued higher, and they're not. And so it's interesting to see.
Yep.
It is really weird how sets work completely opposite to like the games and like the show and things like that.
I will say though, and I know you're going to be hyped for it before even asking, but Pokemon 151,
yeah,
it's going to be it's going to be so good.
It's going to be a scalper's paradise, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, don't buy it for the first few months, but it's going to be very good.
So I made that mistake in Pokemon Go. Is where I went way too heavy into it, and I ended up selling some for a loss. One of like the only losses I've actually like taken in Pokemon, believe it or not, is I sold like over half the cases that I bought just because I just wanted to get out of them and recoup my money. I knew it'd be sitting there for a long time. Like I knew that if it didn't jump out of the gate I just knew it wasn't gonna. I mean, it's still down there. But 151, I'm not gonna lie. I'm getting that itch to do the same thing.
Well, it's funny. I think you, and I'm sorry because I see Retro in the chat now, and I see Josh, and I think I've talked to these guys before about these plays, but and I'm sorry if I'm regurgitating some of it and Punga and these guys, but I think you are spot on with Pokemon Go. Actually, I just think you chose the wrong language, because Pokemon Go in Japanese is a much better set, and it's really just, it's not close. So
what do you mean?
Well, we talked before about how sometimes when it comes to English, they neuter the set. They'll take some of the hits out of the Japanese side and make collection boxes and stuff, like the Dragonite V, the full art that comes in. I think it's like one of the tins for Pokemon Go, the English set. That's in the set. They made the Eevee collection on the English side. That right. Eevee Radiant is in the set for the Japanese side.
Yeah, I knew that.
It's so because of how negative English was for Pokemon Go, it brought it down in Japanese as well. I mean, dude, I'm in at like $35 a box for the Japanese side, and to me,
Where are they at?
55, 60 now, and it hasn't. I'm happy.
I would be too.
Where I bought them.
Pokemon Go is still lower than I bought in it.
Yeah, because the English just sucks. But that was 7. So Black Friday, I can tell you, Black Friday, end of November is when I bought them at like $35 a box. So we're now what, 6, 7 months, and I've almost doubled. How am I doing?
Perfect. Take that any day of the week. That is funny. Yeah, Pokemon Go is garbage. I agree with you in English. That's everyone. I got so much crap for that. Literally, like I had people messaging me asking me if like when I was like gone for a few months when I was starting my job, asking me if I like left the hobby because of Pokemon Go bankrupted me and stuff. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's not that big of a deal, but like it hurts, but it was like a few $100s. It wasn't like tens of thousands.
But by the way, like with that set, that was one of the ones that was kind of like battle styles to me, where I'm seeing, especially on the Japanese side, that it got too much hate to where it got too cheap, and I'm like, I'm just gonna buy it. So that's part of it too. So it doesn't have to be one of those things that go to $500 a box, for me, right? I'm already winning.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree 100%, man. I mean, that's the other thing too. Is just like there's so many of those smaller or medium-sized wins in Pokemon where it pays for like the ones that you don't hit out of the park. Like you were saying, if those $2 cards you don't do well, it's like, okay, I just sell it, break even or a small loss. It's okay because these 5 other plays I made ended up working out. Like a lot of them worked out the way I thought. One of them went to the moon. Maybe I didn't do well in this one. It all averages out in the end where, at least lately in the market, I mean, it's very hard to lose altogether.
Sure.
I mean, if you just look at Sword and Shield, look at Sun and Moon's a hard one. Look at Sword and Shield right now. It's like if you'd have just bought one of every box, you'd be doing just fine. Or one of every.
You're fine.
I mean, even if you'd have bought like I don't know much about the singles, but if you'd have bought like one of every like highest chase card, I think you'd probably be doing all right. Like right out of the gate, bought one of every highest chase card.
Thought you would be crushing it.
And it's just,
and if you still had them,
yeah.
Oh my God.
even though some of them were like crushing it in pre-release, it's like a lot of them ended up doing better.
Yep.
No, I mean that's dangerous precedent. Like I don't want it to act like it's always going to be that way. But I mean, where do you stand? I mean, I guess to end this thing. I mean, I know we talked about it a little more, but you're basically business as usual. The economy, all the craziness going on across the world. I mean, you're not letting any of that kind of affect your mindset. You're just going business as usual into the future for the time being.
Yeah. The reason why I say yeah to that, not to sound like I'm not like scared or anything like that, but the last I checked, what did Rudy call it? The cruel summer of 2022? Is that what what was his big thing? The cruel summer of, I think it was 2022 or something. But like we've already had a pretty rough last 2 years in terms of selling, because it's definitely slowed down. I mean, now some of it came back to normalcy in terms of like WotC. People unfortunately, like I said, weren't making 69,000 million% on a card. Unfortunately, I feel bad for them that now they might have to only make 125%. But like, as long as you can, I don't know, make your 20 to 50% consistently, like, and keep that snowball rolling, then like, why would you be upset? And that's like conservative. Those are like conservative numbers. I mean, but like, as long as that's happening, and especially when it was happening like in a down market, then like, I'm not sitting here saying that it's going to go back or it's going to become like the best thing ever or go nuts, because I mean it already kind of is. But like from you have a better perspective. Sorry, I don't. It's so tough to answer this question because really you have the better perspective of this because you were here from 2016. You witnessed the insanity of 2019, 2020. Then you witnessed the drawback from it. And now there's a different version of this market that is doing essentially what 2020 did that no one saw coming. I mean, I'll say guys like, who I respect a lot, like Retro in the chat right now. And I think Pokemon Jim here, I think he talked a lot Japanese. I could be wrong. Sorry, Pokemon. I know you talked, I've seen some of your videos before when you're talking about your collection, but I think he's into Japanese too. But like a lot of those Japanese,
everything, I believe. Yeah.
A lot of the Japanese full art trainers, like they've been the most expensive card for a long time. Now, have they been thousands of dollars? No, but they have been the hits in Japan for a long time. It's nothing really new to the Japanese collector or people who are flipping in Japanese. It's just gotten crazier, the pricing.
Dude, the chat's cracking me up right now.
Yeah, they want you to comment again on what may have occurred.
My comment is the video will not be edited. I don't edit or delete or do any of those things on my channel. It'll be up for everyone to see. No cuts. We're live here. No, but yeah, to go on to that. Look, I've always said it, like, for every one of like the people who kind of like, I call it like fear monger on the future, but talk about this, the boogeyman of the future is gonna like come and destroy the hobby, or all this isn't gonna work anymore. I feel like you have to convince me just as much that this of why this isn't going to continue to work, more than I have to convince you of why it will, because it's already had so much track record now of it continuing to work, not just in Pokemon, but in Magic and even in a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's not as consistent as Pokemon, but it's continued to work over time. And so it's like, I feel like people more than just say, oh, just wait for this X, eventually this bubble is going to burst. Eventually people are not going to care. I feel like you have to give me more reasoning on why that's going to happen than I should have to give you on reasoning why it's going to continue. Because right now it's just like, I see no factors in Catch 'em All Collectibles videos, how he showed the sales like all across eBay. It's steady. Like, what was it? Like 50 million a month, like just steady selling every month. No real dips, no real spikes. If you go look at Google Trends, type Pokemon investing, Pokemon collecting, type it all and go back all the way to 99. We're not dipping. We're not seeing these giant drop-offs in interest of people searching for these topics. YouTube channels like of main, they're growing, to astronomical numbers. They're constantly getting more views than ever. I just, like you said, your sales are up more than they've ever been on eBay. I heard that. I mean, Dan, he was talking about his times at Collecticon, Old Card Shop. I had him on. Everyone, like, Retro, like everyone seems to be selling great. Everything seems to be on the up and up. And so, like you said before, I don't know if it was on screen or off screen, but either we're in this perpetual bubble to where, hey, if a bubble can last 15, 20, 25 years, great. A lot of us will be old enough to retire by then or close to it. We won't really care. Or this is just kind of the norm. Now, there's going to be ebbs and flows. The norm's not going to be 50% in a year, but I think it's going to get back to the norm of, yeah, like you said, 10, 15, 20, maybe 30% a year on some of the better sets. Up to a point, right? Up to a point where they will plateau, things like that. But I don't see Pokemon going anywhere. I don't see sealed product doing anything different. I'm staying the course.
I mean, it's kind of like when Pokemon opens up to a new country that has like 1.5 billion people in it. That even if 1% of that population or 0.5% of that population is into Pokemon, it's kind of like it might continue to trend up because it's entering new markets. They're going to have that initial wave of ridiculous excitement for it, like you may have done when you first got back into Evolutions in like 2016. I'm sure you had much more of an overall, oh my God, like this is amazing, I can't wait to get more of it on a daily basis. That initial craziness. And to me, that's what we're experiencing right now.
Yeah, see, luckily I got in before like that the crazy hype. I got in when there was steady growth and there were also steady pullbacks. So like I got in the Pokemon Go, not the set, but the actual game in the Evolutions era where like things were moving up. Like when I got in, I was able to see a base set box go from $800 to $2,000. Like I was able to see Flash Fire go from $150 to $300 a box. Like I was able to see, you know, small growth. Like a lot of the stuff I bought, like I was buying WotC theme decks and blister packs, old WotC booster packs, and like things like that. I was able to see those gradual price rises over months, over a couple of years. And then there was like a sort of like mini bubble-ish, like a lot of the PSA card, a lot of the graded stuff dropped off. And then, you know, into the boom, it was already on another price rise. Into 2019, we were already seeing things rise again. And so like I'd already seen the market move. Like that's what got me started to quote unquote invest and stop just being a collector and spending my money. Is I saw the movements in the market, and I saw that like more people are continuing to come back in my age. And I thought to myself, well, more people our age are going to continuously have money, and this is what they want to spend their money on. They're not going to want to buy high-end art, and not as many people are going to want to buy watches and things like that. They want to buy video games and Pokemon cards. And when the 2019, 2020 craziness happened, like that was just an overreaching amount. But like after it fell down, it plateaued into an area where it could gain its feet again and start to rise again. Because if you look at like any stocks, and not to compare Pokemon to stocks, but stocks will have rises and falls as well. But usually when they fall, they don't fall back to the old low levels. They'll find a new plateau, and then they'll rise again. And it kind of becomes like a nice stair step up. And that's what we're seeing with Pokemon. Like someone in the chat said, I forget who it was. Let me see if I can find it. Nick, what goes up must come down. Exactly. Like with Japanese, it'll come down. These cards will come down. These boxes will come down. But are they going to come down to the old lows? Probably not. They're going to find a new higher low. And then in the future,
it really can't
spike. They're going to find a higher high.
It can't. Well, it can, but it really can't. If you believe in scarcity drives some of the demand, then because there's more stuff that's being opened now than there was before, so there's gonna be less of it out there. But I was thinking as you were talking too, like there's always attributing factors to these new spikes. In 2020, a lot of people attribute it to Logan Paul, right, coming in, right? That was the big thing, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I would say.
So let's just say he's one of the reasons, right? But what's behind that though? What's behind Logan Paul? It's probably a whole new segment of the population who may not have been or had forgotten about Pokemon up to that point, which drove back into it, which then causes that boom period, right? Same thing's happening.
What I was worried about is the people who got hurt during that time, like who got in during the spikes and then lost a whole bunch of value. But by now, all those people have already left. They got hurt. They're done. Pokemon's a scam. It's a get rich quick scheme. It didn't work. Well, like anyone that's left now, they've made it through that time. So these are all people are going to be here now.
And that's exactly what I say, the new normal. And that's what we're both saying here. But I can just leave you here with one thing if you don't mind. We're talking about China going going forward. Don't sleep on the Chinese product, chat. Go look at it now. Go see what it's doing. The Chinese product is made in Japan. It has English backs with the quality of the Japanese product. So if you haven't, go check it out. Go on eBay. Check out go check out Chinese Lily full art. Or Chinese Lily full art box or something like that. And just go check it out. Go take that deep dive.
Those Chinese 25th anniversary boxes were some of the best artwork boxes out there at the time. If anyone knows those Chinese, they were like Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaur boxes. Really cool.
The black ones? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the only thing that I've bought so far, just to kind of, so I'm not totally into this yet. I have just been an observer, but I do have a Chinese Lily box from Sun and Moon. And I was kind of shouting out to my friends, Panga, you know what I'm talking about. I bought it at 300 and everybody says, some people were saying it was expensive. Go check it out now.
And I'll leave everyone with buying to all vintage, man. Vintage is where it's at. But Pokemon Gym Hero, he wanted you to buy into Pokemon XY, is what he said. I couldn't find the comment, but that's what he was wanting you to do. I'm just kidding. No, man. I mean, everyone, if you got a ton of time on your hands, do what Ray's doing. Take your time, find the plays, make your gains. Use those gains to further your collection or your investment, basically risk-free. You're just putting in the sweat equity. If you got a good job, you don't have a ton of time, you're looking to try to, get involved in how you make some money, sealed booster boxes is going to be the way to go. If that's even a little too much, definitely you can step it down to maybe one of those 6-pack blisters, 3-pack blisters, those 6-pack boxes, like the tins, like in Hidden Face sometimes, ETBs. There are other auxiliary products, but the booster box is usually going to be king. So that's my last words of wisdom. Ray, so we can find you on your YouTube channel. I got that in the description. Is there anywhere else people can find you? Do you want me to link your eBay store when we're done?
Yeah, if you want. Sure.
I didn't put your Instagram on there because I didn't think you were too active on there.
I'm not really. It's more personal, but if someone wants to reach out and be friends with me, I'm more than happy. I don't have like the full business set up yet where it's like, one name under everything. It's coming. I actually do have a logo and stuff. I don't know if you saw it, Alex, but I'll send it to you afterwards if you want to see it.
What is it?
Shining Cards and Collectibles.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It was on Pokeflips. You didn't
I remember.
remember. Yeah, it's cool. It's fine, man. I remember when we were friends.
I'll get that up. Absolutely.
No, it's cool. I'm just messing
about
around.
it. All right, guys. Thanks everyone for stopping by. We had a good night. We'll be back here on a new one soon.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Walrus, for not coming on.
Later.